Atop a frozen hill stands a man made of snow. The chilling Arctic air and harsh icy cold have crafted his uncomfortable home of solidarity and isolation. He is stuck here, frozen, slowly awaiting the first rays of spring. But at the base of this hill, a different story is unfolding. Folks have begun gathering under the winter lights that adorn their town, and as they gather in the streets, there is a powerful sense of community, respect, and hope. Together, the warm smiles act as a cavalcade of torches, their magical flames burning through the snow and ice. Welcome back to another episode of the Ink Table Podcast, the Lorcana podcast where a group of fellow Illumineers gather around the metaphorical ink table and share their table talk with you. So if you enjoy lore, art, a sense of community, comedic banter, or just all things Disney, then pull up a seat and join hosts Dylan Bailey and Preston McNair as we discuss all of the winter festivities.
It's winter time, baby.
The delayed baby. It's winter time.
It's winter time,
baby.
So, listen, folks, the attire that we are wearing right now, I woke up this morning. We're recording this on a Saturday morning, and I was like, watch this. And we are dressed for the occasion. Dylan's also slightly Darkwing Duck coated as well, which I appreciate with the give us the, I want to say 360, but we got the whole there we go. I'm just wearing the little cap. But hello everyone and welcome to 2026 and welcome back to the Ink Table Podcast, our first episode of the year. We realize that it's later in January. We'll talk about why that is in just a little bit. But folks, we have a very jam-packed, busy episode for us today. A lot of stuff has transpired since we were last together before the holidays. And no, we're not going to be wearing these outfits the whole time, just for now. But we got a lot to talk about today, don't we?
A lot.
Yeah. We got Winterspell, hence the outfits. We have Wilds Unknown and Beyond, a look at what's coming in Q4 of 2026. But not only are we going to be covering those topics, but we're also going to be briefly talking about some of the travels, why we are recording this a little bit later in January. We've had one Illuminator, one member of the table go down to warm and sunny, I think. Was it warm and sunny? Or was it freezing like it is right now down in Florida?
No, it was warm. It was warm. Oh, you mean Florida? Oh, I thought he was talking. Well, I was in Florida too, so technically.
Both y'all were in Florida.
You were cold. You were cold though, Dylan.
Yeah, it was Winterspell in Florida. I mean, I was in Florida. You were on a cruise, your first Disney cruise.
Yeah, and it was warm.
At least you had a little bit of sun.
Yeah, had a lot of sun. It shined the whole time.
So at least a moderately cold in the morning, warm during the day. Epcot Festival of the Arts and the Lorcana activations that Dylan attended. I attended DLC Richmond at the beginning of the month. John was on a cruise. I'm getting ready to go on a cruise next week. But not only this, but we have a slew of Winterspell reveals, a little bit of Wilds Unknown reveals to talk about as well, but it's going to be very busy. So regardless of the platform that you are watching on, be sure to use the chapters function. I think the chapters is enabled across at least the more popular audio platforms and YouTube, but use those chapters to navigate to whichever section you would like as well. But before we get into it, I do want to say, January was a little bit of a different month content-wise, and I'm going to kind of flip the table a little bit and show you all like the upside down, Stranger Things, upside down of the ink table. So how we normally do content is we record the long form episode, which John so graciously produces. Dylan and I would get together, we come up with notes. We usually let that long form episode breathe for about a week. We don't want to draw attention away from the podcast, but then we eventually start clipping up that show into more bite-sized YouTube videos, shorts, what have you. But whenever it came to the very heavy travel months, travel month, but pretty heavy event-wise, shorts, I think, is just the easiest way that we can kind of capture those events. I know Dylan took the DJI down to Epcot Festival of the Arts. I can't say farts, although that is the acronym, but Festival of the Arts. But shorts in short form content is just the quickest and easiest way for us to capture what's happening at these events and get them to you all. The reason I'm talking about this now is short form discovery is a little bit different depending if you're on Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts. There's many of you who may have not have seen that content. So we'll call this out as we talk about those sections, but I encourage you, if you haven't seen the upwards of 10 short form videos we've produced, go on out to TikTok, Instagram, the Inktable, or even here on YouTube in the home tab and check out that content. We don't want you to miss that. And if you're inside the Discord, you may have noticed that I created some playlists, redesigned our home tab a little bit just so we can get that content up there. So I mentioned that because not everybody may have seen it. You can thank platforms and algorithms for that. But with that being said, let's talk about where we've been, talk about where we've driven, where we've flown. Dylan, Epcot Festival of the Arts. You attended, I don't want to say was it the inaugural? Is this the first time that it's been at Disney World, right?
Disney
Collective
World,
Arts?
yeah.
Yeah,
We previously had the Disneyland stuff take place.
right.
I don't even remember when that was, earlier this year. This was kind of a different experience overall than what Disneyland had too. Disneyland, I think me and you talked about it a little bit. No, neither of us were fortunate to make it out there, but they had two promo cards to chase after, whereas Festival of the Arts had three, and it was very, very thematic to say, I guess, because it was a beast and a bell that you could get inside of Beast Castle at Disneyland. Whereas this was completely different in a way. This was you get there, it essentially became a part of this festival. And I'm curious to see if it sticks around for other festivals in the future or if this is just a one-off. I had somebody at work ask me the other day if this was going to be a yearly thing. Like, are you going to go down there every year for this? At this point, we don't really know. But let's talk about how this event actually worked and took place because the last episode we had information. We had information that they had shared online, but we didn't really know for sure how it worked. But now that we've been there, we have a better understanding. First off, let's talk about the quest distribution. And this is weird. This is one that you're going to hear a lot about online. There's a lot of buzz and a lot of chatter going on about it right now because these quest books and this experience is super, super popular. This entire event, as part of the Festival of the Arts, is super popular. And I'm not sure if that's because it was like the opening weekend and it'll eventually blow over a little bit. But it was super exciting to see everybody enthralled over this idea of participating in Disney Lorcana, a focused event. So there is a line every day to get these quest books. And you have to get these quest books in order to participate to get the promos or whatever. And they have a certain spot we have a image of it where you go to pick these quest books up. So these are not attached to your ticket, to your key card, or your magic band or anything like that. You stand in line. You are handed a quest book that comes with one pack of Arcasia's Island, and they have signs up that says limited, like, we want one person, like one per person. That's not necessarily the case. There are people that are lining up multiple times and getting these multiple times, for one. And then for two, they are limiting how many they give out of these quest books in general per day. So you line up, you get them, and then once they're done giving these out for the day, they're done. You have to come back the next day.
And that was
So I was
about
scared at first.
noon-ish, consistently
It
around
seems
noon.
to be that way. Yeah, consistently 11:30, noon, sometimes earlier, because this event is so popular. I only had one day at Epcot, and I had to make this event happen. This was kind of, I don't want to say this is the only reason we went, but this was a big part of the reason that we decided to go when we did, and I wanted to be able to participate in this and cover it to show everybody. Um, So I made it a mission to be there for this quest distribution. And let me tell you, if you want to participate in this event and you are there, rope drop. That's all I have to say about it. Rope drop. There
No
were probably
Frozen, no Ratatouille,
right.
collective. Were there other people rope dropping for this too, I assume?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So I was probably like the fourth or fifth person in line, but by the time 8:30, 9 o'clock, I mean, I think the park opened at 9. We were able to get in a little bit earlier or whatever. None of the rides and stuff were open yet, and we could you queue up, but they didn't actually open until 9 a.m. 9 a.m. rolled around, there were easily 50 to 60 Illumineers standing in line waiting to get these quest books. My family went and rode Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind while I went and stood in line for this. So it shows you how much like it meant like I needed to be there for this. But the collection quest itself, once you got your quest book, you open it up, and I don't have one right next to me, but this was more in depth than the one that you get at Disneyland. There were a couple of more extra pages. First off, they had a page that acted as it had stickers in it, and it was almost like a map of Epcot. And you had to go around to different areas and take these stickers of the different ink colors and match them up with these oversized, larger than life Disney Lorcana cards that were, I don't want to say hidden, they were pretty obvious. Like you went and saw, they're huge. You went, you saw them, and they were all around World Showcase. They were all in the front part of Epcot, and some of those were really thematic too. Like I don't want to spoil too much for people who might actually go or whatever, but like there was a Wreck-It Ralph card in front of Test Track. There was a Stitch card in front of Mission Space. So or
Kind of similar to like the Festival of the Holidays, like you get the sticker and you have to match I think it's in Disney Springs, but it's like you have to match the sticker with the Christmas tree in Disney Springs. Was it Ink and Find or Ink and Seek? Because I think we had both at one point. What was the name of that?
what
Because
did
I
I
know
put
we
in
were
the notes? I kept mispronouncing the name. It's Ink and Find Scavenger Hunt is what it was. You had that. Um, then you had the actual collection quest part of it, and then the collection quest, and we might have a picture of this too, but like you open it up, and oh my gosh, I think there were maybe over 30 different collection quests that you could like possibly get or whatever. But you open up your quest book, and it randomly showed you 4 cards, and the whole goal was to open your pack, try to get as many of those 4 cards as you could, and if you didn't get them, trade with other Illumineers to complete your quest, essentially. These were all commons and uncommon cards. I think that's very important to say there. 'Cause I know that, like, when we participated in Collection Quest in the past, sometimes you had to get rare cards, and then there were even, like, higher difficulty Collection Quests that you could participate in at higher rarities that you had to collect. But making it to where it was all commons and uncommons made it super simple for everybody participating. It's easier, and this is the largest Collection Quest that they've ever done. At least that's what their marketing says. But, once you complete your actual collection quest part of it, you would go to different areas such as the Illumineers Lounge, which we have short form video up that we just posted showing the inside of the Illumineers Lounge. But you would get the Donald Duck Pie Slinger Magical Places promo card. That was like promo number 1, complete your collection quest. Then promo number 2 was from that ink and font scavenger hunt. Once you found all the oversized cards and matched your stickers up with them, you'd get that Rapunzel Appreciative Artist Magical Places promo. So that's 2 of the 3. So then comes the third one there, and the third one is probably one of the most popular ones, being the Rockstar Stitch promo. And this one was strange because we didn't know how to get it in the past. We knew it was a buy a promo kind of thing, like it's a or gift of purchase is the better way to say it.
Copper.
But we didn't know what it was we actually had to purchase. Turns out this was all Arcasia's Island themed. All the cards that you needed to get were from Arcasia's Island. They gave you the Arcasia's pack, but to get the Rockstar Stitch promo, you had to buy an entire trove of Arcasia's Island. I wasn't super thrilled with that, but
That's steep
um,
for a promo,
yeah, I mean, it was like
especially an
50
older.
bucks.
Yeah,
I mean, we're approaching what, set 11? I think, yeah.
Let
And
me see what
Arcasia's was
that
set
card.
7.
Yeah, so just for comparison, because this is a consideration. So right now on the secondary market, the Magical Places promo is going for $42. So
Right. So for collectors out there, if you look at these 3 promos overall and you don't get the opportunity to be able to actually attend the Epcot Festival of the Arts, you're gonna end up spending more money for the Stitch simply because you had to purchase an entire trove at, like, $50 to get the Stitch, whereas the Rapunzel and the Donald Duck Pie Slinger, I believe, last I looked, secondary market, they were going for, like, 25, so it was almost half of what Stitch was going. So just a PSA to all collectors out there, if you're looking at purchasing these, that Stitch is going to cost more.
yeah. So
But
I
overall, go ahead.
sorry, go ahead, Dylan. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna go into a spill of the event overall, just like what I thought about it and the experience.
I have a follow up to that. So what overall, if you don't address it in your spill, I'll ask you. But yeah, what was it worth it? Was it not worth it? What's your overall?
It felt okay. This was a completely different experience than what you got at Disneyland. I will say first and foremost. I personally, on an individual level, struggled because there was so much. I tried to divide my time, and again, that's on me. I only had 1 day at Epcot, so I tried to divide my time as a Disney Lorcana fan, a content creator, a father and husband, someone who just wanted to enjoy the festival and eat lots of food. I wanted to ride rides, just as a Disney fan overall. And I know for a fact, did not 100% put my all into every one of those because there's no way that I possibly could. So it was a very busy, busy, busy day. And I was super thankful at the end of the day that I'm like, oh man, this was so fun. But I can't wait for the rest of this trip to be able to just not have to worry about all this other stuff. So I tried to cover content wise as much as I could, the best I could. Hopefully, people enjoy it. I wish I did a better job with it, but it was hard to do that divide. With that being said, this reminded me of Gen Con. Deep down, that feeling I got. We talked about it after Gen Con. That moment, it felt like we needed to be there. Community is the most important part of Disney Lorcana to me, more so than anything else, more so than the lore. Community, first and foremost, is the most important part. And this truly, this entire experience, even without getting like the entire thing in Beast Castle where you go and get to watch this magical show and you're inside the Illuminary and stuff like that. The overall experience, it just felt like I needed to be there. This is the most interaction I've ever had with strangers at Disney World. It didn't even happen in the Illuminators Lounge. I'll say that too. As we were walking around the park all day long, there were so many people that just they came up to us and we cheated. I'm not gonna lie, we cheated a little bit. We learned before
Who
we
did it?
went that right. But we knew that it was gonna be based around Arcasia's Island before we went. We knew that the collection quest was gonna be mostly commons and uncommons. Me and my kids opened a box the first day that we got down there at Disney, like an entire booster box of Arcasia's Island to like get as much bulk and stuff as we could. And we were walking around with a binder, and all throughout the day, you had strangers coming up asking questions about, okay, what is this event? Maybe I want to do that. What is Disney Lorcana? Or you had people, it reminded me of pin trading. You had people walking up, they'd see you with your binder or your lore book or whatever, your collection quest book, and they'd be like, "Oh, do you have this to trade? Do you have this?" And it was such a cool experience overall, being able to not only help others complete their collection quest, but then also being able to explain what Disney Lorcana is as a whole to people who are new to the game. And shout out to all the young Illumineers out there because I mean, we talk about it all the time. They're at our LGS and stuff. We're all kind of like we're Disney adults. There's not too many young Illumineers, but at this event, there was so many kids excited walking around trading and stuff and being able to not only help them, there were so many times that we just gave away cards. They'd come up, they'd be like, "Do you have this to trade?" And I was
So
like, "Yeah,
I,
sure, here, have
I
this."
want to I want to give a big kudos to Dylan because I think that's something that no matter where myself or Dylan or John go, like whether it be a cruise ship or somewhere, we try to just be available to let young kids and also just new people to the game enjoy it. But I want to brag on Dylan because we got some Instagram messages and Facebook messages of parents finding the show socials and messaging saying, "Hey, I just ran into you at Epcot. My kid traded you or something like that, or you gave a kid a whole bunch of bulk," and the parent was just so grateful. So I guess I know you don't have to do that, but I want to brag on Dylan because seeing those messages pop up, I was like, "That's my boy." So,
Yeah, two of those, or 2 to 3 real quick about those. As soon as we got there at Disney Traders and we had just got our trove to get the Stitch promo card, we didn't need the trove, and I really didn't feel like carrying a trove around all day long. So I saw a father and son walking in, and they were asking about how to get the Stitch promo card and stuff, and asking if we had stuff to trade. And I was like, "You know what? You're new to this. Why don't we open this entire trove together right here on the spot? Let's open these packs and see if there's any cards in it that you need to complete your collection quest. And then whatever we open, you can just have. You can just have this trove or whatever." So that was cool, being able to just like make their day. I think that's the interaction you're talking about. It was that father and
yeah.
son who live in that Disney area. The mother wasn't with them, but I did see that message. The mom was like, "Hey, you just made my kid's day. He came home. This is all he talked about." So hopefully we started his collection out strong, and he's super excited to collect some more Disney Lorcana. And then at the end of the day, we did the same thing with a young brother and sister. We were like, "It's the end of the day. We don't really want to carry all this bulk around with us. Here, have it." And we helped them complete their quest, gave them all that extra stuff, and then immediately they had someone come up and they were like, "Well, do you have this?" And I was like, I don't know. I just gave all my bulk away." And then these kids were like, "Oh, I think we have this, and we think that he just gave it to us." So it was that chain, right, of not only us helping others, but then turning around and watching these other Illuminators now doing the exact same thing and picking up on that. And I looked at the parent and I was like, "That right there, that's what this game's all about." Because Disney Lorcana, and I didn't say this, but like Disney Lorcana does offer that more so than any other TCG. It is that magical Disney moments. It's this entire game is just dusted in freaking pixie dust, man.
I was about to. I'll tell you all later. But no, that's awesome, and like we've had little moments like that throughout. Like we've had interactions with folks at Gen Con and different stores, and so that's reading that was really awesome. I was like, Dylan would be the one to make sure that you threw a little additional pixie dust on top of Lorcana. But I have three thoughts and questions for Dylan if you're done, because I don't
Okay.
want to. You may
No,
you
no,
may.
no, for sure. I'm
Okay.
wrapped up. Let's
Okay. So, and folks, to be honest, we really haven't had the chance to debrief these things ourselves. So this is really the first time we're genuinely talking about
Yeah,
these
I mean, this
experiences.
table talk isn't just with all of you. I mean, this is table talk with the 3 of us because we really
True.
haven't
January's been
spoken.
crazy. But anyway, so one, just more of a comment. I told whenever Dylan was preparing to go to the trip, I told Dylan, I was like, you have to enjoy the trip first because at the end of the day, it's you and your money and your family. You have to enjoy that first, otherwise the content won't be as good. So that pro tip to any creator out there, if you're attending any sort of Lorcana event, enjoy it for yourself first. Everything else will follow. That's probably my biggest piece of advice. So comment on that. But um, an observation and kind of discussion point was Arcasia's Island was the set of choice for the Epcot Collection Quest. This was something we talked about in our Discord of what set was going to be used for this Lorcana activation. And they mentioned, I think Rochelle or somebody mentioned, don't quote me on this, but the event was more geared towards collectors rather than players. But thoughts around why Arcasia's and not Fabled, for example, being used for the collection quest.
I really don't know. I mean, it's the Festival of the Arts. I do love the art in Arcasia's. I will say that. I genuinely don't know their thought process and decision making of, is this just the most product that you have? I know that Fabled product has been kind of limited across the board in certain areas, so maybe this the again, largest collection quest ever. Maybe that would have been a little harder to pull off with Fabled. I would have loved for it to have been Fabled, for these people to actually get the chance to possibly pull an iconic down there. I think the hype around that would have been insane. I think that if word got out about that, then there would be even more interest in the event overall. And Fabled being that set that has brought so many people in, that is something that a lot of people I talked to down there throughout the day, they were like, "Oh, we just started playing. We started with Fabled." And I think that really speaks numbers as to people did its job. I know there were complaints, even us, we had some complaints about, because we've been in the game since the beginning. So
We
I
don't
mean,
need our
yeah,
pager.
reprint wise, like we didn't need the reprints and stuff, but it did its job at bringing new players in, and I think that the continued aspect of being able to do that through this would have been awesome. Maybe they were just trying to offload bulk. I mean, we've seen it in the past with other sets. And then you can't really do whispers either. I thought about that. I was like, why not do the newest set? Well, this event goes on for so long that there's actually an overlap between whispers and winterspell. So why start one and then halfway through it have to completely switch over your collection quests?
That's fair. No, and I will agree with the sentiment. Again, we don't closely follow the market like other Lorcana creators do, but right now, a case of Fabled is pushing 800 US dollars. So I think there is a potential supply thing with Fabled. I don't know if you or anyone else has seen that, but I have heard whispers, ha, pun intended. Have heard whispers of Fabled being short supply a little bit, and the sealed value of cases and boxes are going up in field. So maybe it's just I think I said in our Discord, I think it was a supply thing. I think that's probably what they had the
The
most of. That's
demand thing as well. I mean, it's despite a lot of people saying that they weren't going to purchase it or whatever, a lot of people did. Many,
yeah,
many people did. And then that idea of just the very first iconics with Mickey and Minnie in there, it just that skyrockets the demand for Fabled even more so.
yeah. The last thing, and this is something that I had talked with a few folks kind of locally about in other discords, whatever, was obviously there's been a lot of people get into this game between the big Lorcana Facebook group and the beginner Facebook group. The amount of people I've seen going, "Hey, I am brand new to Lorcana. Where do I start? I want to learn to play." Uh, the lack, I don't want to say lack, but you had a lot of people asking what Lorcana was. And I think immediately online we saw a lot of people going, "Oh, this is just another," people who didn't know what Lorcana was just saw this and thought it was another money grab from Disney and whatnot. And there's other people who kind of just like, "Oh, this is Disney Pokemon," essentially. Um, the fact that there was no pre-show, which an event of that scale, it's hard to control how many people get into the pre-show. And the pre-show I'm talking about is the Disney California Adventure one, where you had the Illumineer and the Whimsical Bells library and explaining what Lorcana was. There really wasn't any of that outside of the book. Um, would a learn to play or a what is Lorcana or something like that benefited this event being the Epcot activation? Or because I feel like that's one thing that I thought was slightly missing. I'm not saying we need to do book activities for learn to plays, but I just felt like that education aspect of what this is was slightly missing a little bit.
I completely agree. I think that the pre-show that you're talking about at Disney California Adventure done a excellent and wonderful job. And I'm jealous I didn't get to participate in it, but it did a wonderful job showing off and explaining what the world of Disney Lorcana is. It added that lore aspect to it. Whereas this was just it was cardboard. It was shiny cardboard and cards, and even though they had the Illuminators Lounge and they had banners and you had the ink collars and you had these wonderful pieces of art of different glimmers and stuff. Shout out Merlin Visionary, right, with his legs that we
He
didn't know
has legs.
existed. It was crazy. Um, That was not the same experience. That was not the Great Illuminary. You could tell that that was still the Morocco Pavilion that they had just decorated. I wasn't super thrilled with that. There was a long line to get into that, but once you got in, you picked up your promo cards, and most people just exited the building. There wasn't a lot of
Yeah,
trading going on inside the Illuminators Lounge from what I saw. Most trading that I participated in happened around the park as you were just
interesting.
going around. Um, Something else that we had talked about too is like, where is it visible? Where is Lorcana visible in the parks? You had the Disney traders where you could purchase product. And I know online or somewhere it said that you could purchase products within the Illuminators Lounge. I didn't really see that taking place within the Illuminators Lounge, and I didn't really see any other Disney Lorcana product throughout my entire experience at all. And there were so many people that would come up to me being like, "Oh man, cool! Where do I get some Lorcana cards?" I'm like, "Your LGS?" Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, they weren't really in shops, they weren't in stores. Even at the World of Disney, I really didn't. In Disney Springs, I didn't see a lot. I didn't, if any at all. It was a weird experience compared to this time. Gosh, it wasn't a year ago, almost 2 years ago in March when I went, and you would get on the Disney buses, and they had posters for Disney Lorcana up on the buses, and Disney Spring was full of them and stuff like that. So it was a different vibe, a different experience overall. I don't even know if that answers your question.
No, it does because it's like cool. Like I think about the just the everyday person walking into the parks and they're like, "Oh, Lorcana, what's Lorcana?" They do this thing, they have a great time, but then there's no post action. Like, okay, cool, you've participated in this collection quest, which doesn't happen everywhere. Where do you go from here? If you want to continue exploring Lorcana, do you, like here's where you can go find your tcg dot or whatever plug for the play hub and find local game shops. Like I feel like the after action of like cool, you've done this, here's how you can further engage with Lorcana. I feel like that piece was missing. And honestly, like it's not even a dig towards Ravensburger or whoever organized this, because this is what Epcot needed. But I just think that there should have just been a slight segue of going like, okay, here's how you can continue to engage with the game
It's
after
the
you leave
what
Epcot.
now.
Right.
Yeah, you can start your collection. People have the idea of what it is, but you don't know how to play the game. That was the thing too of talking to people. They were like, "How do you play this game?" And having to give like that short, quick debrief to people of
And
this
that's
is
not
what
a
these
short, quick
cards do,
debrief.
right? But then I'm like, but you know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because at the end of the day, you can throw out all the rules because that was the biggest barrier talking to people is, oh, what are the? I know there are rules to this game, but what are the rules and how do I follow them? And I'm like, you know what? Just play with your favorite cards. Forget the rules. Play with your favorite cards. Play with your favorite movie or franchises and stuff like that. Forget the rules. If that's what it takes and you're just playing at home with your kids, those rules, throw them out the window. Finally, I think moving on from Epcot Festival of the Arts, we've spent a lot of time on it. I don't know if we necessarily wanted to, but moving on to our next special winter festivity, I think that that was probably DLC Richmond.
Yeah. And before we talk about that, one, all the shorts are on the platforms, and even on our Instagram, you can see Dylan's, I'm going to call it the vlog, but you can see Dylan's vlog of the day by day of him progressing through Epcot and also my DLC Richmond. So head on out to Instagram and check that stuff out because, yeah, that's why we do it. We want to allow you all to live vicariously. So, yeah, I like the Instagram highlights. I remember Dylan messaging me. He's like, "How do you do that thing on Instagram?" I was like, I got you. So,
I had stories. I had tons of stories, but I was like, man, how do we like put this into that little collection highlight thing on there to where we can look at this later?
no, just seeing it, but Epcot, it looked fun. Yeah, it's what Epcot needed and timely as well. But yes, DLC Richmond happened. Goodness, 20 days ago, 25 days ago. I won't spend too much time on DLC Richmond just because the event has been a little bit further out than what Epcot was. You've probably seen all the or all the shorts. Honestly, the best recap of DLC Richmond, I would say go out and check out our stories on Instagram or our short form. But just a few things I wanted to highlight from DLC Richmond And you're going to hear Dylan and I refer to this lore cast a little bit throughout the episode, and we'll talk about how this ties into DLC. And you're going to see various images throughout the event. I know John loves my iPhone.hike images. Sorry, John.
Yeah, I had to convert all those while you guys were talking, so I'm glad it took a
Okay.
little while. So
I'm I'm gonna have those go as P and or JPEG next time. But anyway, one first and foremost, I mentioned it inside the Instagram is I go to DLCs for the community. To me, these DLCs are equal pillars of the community. The extra day of side events on Friday, the day before the main event, helped tremendously. That provided just another day to be able to interact with folks, grab content, film whatever. So the extra day, I don't think anyone's going to complain about more Lorcana, but just having that, it felt like the right amount of time. I feel like if it was any longer, I feel like fatigue probably would have settled in a little bit. But the specific improvements I want to highlight is we talked about this in the last episode where they did improve on Milwaukee, but I want to share a few highlights about how they executed on some of these improvements. The first thing, and probably the thing that was most important to me for some reason inside the last episode, was the Young Illuminator section. If you recall back to our DLC Milwaukee segment, however many episodes ago, they had Young Illuminator banners, a television that didn't show the broadcast, and nothing else. This was like the young kids section. Uh, they did improve on that. They didn't announce that they were improving. You kind of just walked in, but they had coloring books, they had puzzles to do as well, and they also had the live stream playing on a television. And it wasn't just the Twitch stream, it was a direct feed from the production crew. So they're like, in between matches, you could see the judges and the production crew resetting the tables and realigning everything. So it wasn't the Twitch stream, it was a direct video feed from production, which was really cool. But Young Illumineers, they did have some things to do, which was wanted. There was no Disney trivia or Disney karaoke. Again, Dylan and I talked about this. I didn't take that as a joke in the lore cast that you
Absolutely
mentioned it.
not. No.
Yeah.
I mean, if again, point blank, I'm glad they're making improvements, but they initially advertised these DLCs this season as these, I don't want to say cons, but it wasn't just competitive events. This was supposed to be overall a Disney experience for all Illumineers, even if you're not competitive players, for us to be able to come together and celebrate all things Lorcana. Because without those extra little side events, whether it be like the puzzles and stuff, and that's cool, that's fine. But without all the extra little side events, this is almost no different, besides the prizing, than what a CCQ is.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's still room to grow, and there's a very important piece from the last lorecast that we're going to mention in just a little bit. But there were improvements. Um, Something that they didn't really advertise, kind of getting more into the atmosphere. Um, I sent a message to Dylan. I was like, "You're about to flip what we got." But we had our regular DLC banners, but we got the Illuminary photo op at DLC, which seems just like a small thing. But you look at what we had in like Paris last year and Lille and all these other DLCs where they had these huge like uh, uh, sets, I'll call them, of the Illuminary. And just being able to have just a more immersive photo op was really cool. So naturally, that was the busiest photo opportunity of the entire weekend. So that was really cool. The venue was the venue. I'm not going to really mention a whole lot about that. It basically be a rehash of what was mentioned online. But one thing that really caught us by surprise, and one thing you'll see inside our stories, is I walked in on Friday. I'm the guy that likes to open and close the DLC just because I don't want to miss anything. But Collection Quest was there. What Dylan just did in Epcot and what we did at Gen Con and Disney California Adventure, there was an official Ravensburger booth, which was not announced. You had the vendors, which we knew they were going to be there, but there was a Ravensburger booth with Ravensburger employees selling puzzles, troves, boxes, playmats, you name it, at this booth. And they also had Collection Quest, which you had your choice of Shimmering Skies, Jafar and Whispers in the Well for your collection quest. That was awesome. And admittedly, I didn't have to do collection quest, but I was just so excited it was there that I did it anyway. So, and the reason I mention that is because the promos. The promos that you got for enrolling in a collection quest and completing your collection quest was regular organized play LGS promos that I have 15 million of already. So it was cool to have that. It's what it needed because collection quest is this thing that we are going to see more and more of, like at Epcot, like at Gen Con, like at DLC. I was talking to one of the Ravensburger employees that I recognized from Gen Con, and I was like, hey, I was at Gen Con. This was great. I'm glad you all brought this here. And along the lines, they're like, we really wanted to provide something you could do at your own pace. So that was really cool to see. But just like Dylan probably experienced in Epcot, there was not a lot of trading, but more so going through bulks of cards to see if you could find your collection quest. There's still people conversing and trading, but by the end of the day, the tables around that was just stacks of bulk and people just kind of sifting through and grabbing whatever. The weird part about this, I don't want to say weird. It wasn't weird, but it was unusual. And Dylan and John probably know where I'm going with this, but Friday was whenever we found out collection quest was a thing. On Sunday, a lot of people weren't too happy about the collection quest promos being OP play. It was like, you got like Patch and Wasabi and Rescue Rangers away. So what they did on Sunday, what they ended up doing was the non-foil Let It Go promos that are new to the prize wall for this DLC season 2. They ended up injecting those into the stacks of cards you got. So basically, you completed your collection quest, and like the dispensers you see at local card shops where it's like the packs, you pull it out, they had those for promos, and they just took the non-foil Let It Goes, which are about $100 at this point. They're just injecting them randomly. And it's like you completed your quest, and Dylan will be like, pull from the top of that stack, and it would be a promo or a Let It Go non-foil. And which was good. I'm glad that they did that. I'm glad they pivoted, but it kind of got a little weird a little bit because if you bought a booster box at MSRP, you could get 6 draws from the stack of cards. And
Very gotcha.
it kind of felt like a little bit of a casino was just randomly
Yeah.
erected in DLC. That was just odd to me. I'm glad they adjusted, but eventually you just have people buying booster boxes just to see how many non-foil Let It Goes you could potentially pull. That was am I wrong in that? Is that a little weird
No,
or odd?
I wondered what that was. I saw a TikTok and I saw a guy get 2 of those out of his 6. I was like, how is he doing that? And I meant to ask you how that worked. I had no idea. So yeah, that's very weird.
Cool. Yeah, like I'm glad that people had the experience to get those promos, but the way in which it was very gambly, and
Yes.
I think there's a stigma already whenever it comes to trading cards in general about how it's kind of gambling, open the packs and stuff. But straight up, like building a casino like that at a DLC, that is not the atmosphere that I think we would
Yeah.
want or need.
It
It
was
was
it was a little weird, a little odd, not gonna lie. Sorry,
here's
Robin.
my question with promo cards. And this is I wasn't there. But like we have these seasonal promo cards that come out every season. Like there's a special one. And I believe for Whispers in the Well that there was a Rapunzel, right? Or Rapunzel
Jasmine?
Whisper, not Rapunzel, Jasmine.
Yeah.
Jasmine Whisper, who is the seasonal promo. And the way that these seasonal promos are advertised are you get it by participating in a Disney Lorcana event hosted by Ravensburger
Right.
during that season.
Mhm.
So DLC Richmond, hosted by Ravensburger, well, pastimes, whatever, but Ravensburger and stuff. It's a
Yeah.
Ravensburger event. That to me would be where you would get this Jasmine seasonal promo. Was
You would
there
think.
any opportunity to get her at all?
No, and that I think would probably be my kind of impromptu second critique is no, for early registration, we got the Pluto tried and true tried and true promo that we got at Gen Con that I have
What's
a
that? Is
bunch
that
of.
seasonal promo from like Jafar?
Yes. So no, that seasonal promo for Whispers was nowhere to be seen. And I think I didn't read a whole lot about it, but I remember overhearing people going, "Where's the Jasmine?" Because I would imagine that probably at London Toy Show, I don't know if they did it at London Toy Show, but that promo usually pops up at these events. And yeah, I don't know where that was. And to be honest, that just confuses me even more a little bit because it's like where. Oh, sorry, my phone was ringing. It's just kind of like where did they go? So yeah, it wasn't there. There was no opportunity to get her. That's the first thing people were trying to figure out, but come to find out, no, she wasn't there. And if they're not distributing it at their DLCs, then what meets the threshold for distributing this promo?
Now, your first critique, if we go back and we compare this to Gen Con, we had a collection quest that we specifically did at Gen Con where once you completed it, you got I don't want to say seasonal promo. Well, maybe it was the seasonal promo there.
Honor.
You got the Anna Icebreaker. So, surprise collection quest, if you weren't going to give the Jasmine for pre-registering on Friday or anything like that, if they would have gave Jasmine away for completing the collection quest, and that would have been your promo card, would that have eliminated your first critique? For one, because you weren't just getting these weekly play promo cards, you actually got something different, special, and
Yeah.
unique there. And then they would have never had that complaint to begin with, to where they had to shift and construct this casino.
Cena. No, that I think that's what should have happened. Again, we don't know internally what happened to that, but yeah, the Jasmine needed to be that promo for completing. And kind of building on top of that, at Gen Con, for example, the collection quest was a controlled environment, like it was a ticketed thing. And at Gen Con, there really was no opportunity to go through tables of bulk to complete your collection quest. You truly had to trade with people, but I don't know how you could do that at a DLC. Like, sure, you could probably make it a side event or like a pod type system where you fire, but I don't know where you could get people into a separate room and kind of isolate them for doing that. So yeah, the collection quest promos were just kind of odd all around between the Let It Go and the non Jasmine, but hopefully they improve on that. I think that would, if they're going to continue to do collection quests, I think that needs to change. Whatever promo we're going to get in Wilds Unknown for DLC Indy, for example, I think that's probably the biggest area. It seemed very last minute in a sense. Hopefully that
So
answers your
moving
question.
on, yeah, I think it does.
So
Moving on from DLC Richmond, do we have any other festivities? John, you want to say anything quick about your trip, your cruise, before we get into like all the extra? Extra.
Extra, read all about it. No, it was just a nice time. It was just nice to get away, and warm.
Water and boat.
Yeah, we did pass out 151 packs of my bulk, so I thought I was officially done with it, but I'm giving the rest of it to Preston to hand out on his.
I'll see it again.
Did you have your pirate night?
What's that?
Did you have your pirate night on?
Yes, we had pirate.
Yeah,
we had pirate night. That was pretty cool. It rained. That was the only time it rained was that night. But yeah, that was pretty cool. We stood in the adults only section, so it worked out pretty well. The fireworks were over top of our heads. We were pretty far away from the stage, but that's okay. I didn't want to be right down in the middle of it anyway. So I'm not a fan of being in the middle of that crowd. But yeah, I mean, overall, it was a great trip. It was a good time. I think next time we'll do one more day. A 4-day, I think, is better than a 3. But a 3 was good to try it out and see what you what you thought
Yeah.
of it. I
Pours
had
the
Put your toes in the water per se.
yeah. Let's see, what was it? I had ice cream 4 times a day, which was really nice.
Yeah.
Have ice cream with
There you go.
breakfast, with lunch, with dinner, and then one before you go to bed. I mean, why not? It's free. Well, you paid for it, but it's readily available anyway. I'll say that. But yeah, it was a good time.
Sundays is the big one. You
What?
get that day at sea on a 4-day,
Yeah,
which I think helps. Yeah.
yeah. Just to have another day to really fully take in, because there was a lot of things we didn't get to do on a 3-day just because we just didn't have time.
Right. But no, real quick to kind of cap off the DLC thing again, folks. I like how we said we'll keep the travels brief, but one major thing I do want to mention, because I want to intro this Lorecast thing that took place was on Thursday. You're going to hear Dylan and I refer to that a couple times throughout this episode. And to kind of cap off the DLC thing is that Ryan Miller made an appearance. A wild Ryan Miller appeared. He's like a Pokemon. And he was primarily on that Lorecast to talk about DLCs. And while yes, it's still an attendee thing, and there's more people to do attendee things, a rough quote of this, don't quote me on this, but he is looking at making these DLCs more of a pillar community thing and kind of upping the Disney of it. And we don't know what that means. He did make a comment that DLC season 3 is being targeted for those. I don't know if that means that Ryan is now directly involved with the DLCs in a sense, but I did find that was pretty interesting, an interesting comment, and something I think we would like to see more of is almost like a con in a sense, but we'll let that lie. But just know that this lore cast, Ryan made an appearance, and that's the primary thing he talked about was making these more Disney in a sense. We know that Coop works on premier level events, not store level, and it looks like it sounded like Miller and Coop are in cahoots in a sense. So, but all in all, check out all that content. I don't think John had any content. Maybe we'll create one Instagram highlight for John's cruise. And it's like,
no, I had no content because we hardly took pictures. I mean, it was just like we were just so relaxed and didn't have our phones connected to the internet and stuff. It's just like, nah.
Yeah, and that's the way it should be. But leave that lie because we're going to talk about that lore cast as we kind of continue on.
Right, so moving on, I think now to what Winterspell. That is right around the corner. I mean, today is the 31st. We have 13 days, 14 days until we celebrate Valentine's Day with Winterspell.
Ironically.
Yeah. At least that'll be our pre-release events. Go support your LGSs. Go sign up for their pre-release events. You'll have tons of fun this set, I promise. I think this is the most excited that I've ever been for a sealed event ever. Like, this is just going to be so much fun. But then a week later, notably, again, 1 week later, this is the same that it's been for the past 4 sets now, where they have decreased that time frame between the pre-release at LGS's to the big box retailer release. It's only 1 week. So again, with only that 1 week gap, go support your LGS and help them out. Notably, some important things to not necessarily us, but other people talking about those pre-release events is there are changes to the draft format that are going to be starting with Winterspell. This doesn't really affect us because, again, we play sealed at all of our pre-release events, but I know that we have some friends at the table who do participate in the draft format. And the biggest thing is that it will be a 35 card minimum instead of a 40 card minimum, which is kind of important because this allows for more synergy whenever you are drafting your cards, whenever you have that draft pool, and you don't have to make or you don't have to focus as hard whenever you're passing your cards to the person next to you or your partner. You don't have to worry as much about what you're taking or what you're not taking as what you would have to do when there is a 40 card minimum instead. So, again, that doesn't affect us, but I love that they are making changes, and they're focusing on this limited format, which we're going to see even more so in Wilds Unknown later on, whenever they introduce those pre-release packs in general for everybody. But moving on, let's talk about some new promo cards, because these promo cards tie right back into that pre-release as well. You have, first and foremost, Beast, the snow-filled troublemaker, who this is going to be our buy a box promo. If you go pre-order a box from your LGS, you will get this Beast along with it. And I think it's important with this Beast for us to look at the icon on this Beast down at the bottom, because this is something that we're going to see continuously change. This is similar to what we've seen in the past with our weekly play promos and stuff like that. But immediately, if we move on to the next one, Timon the Snowball Swiper. This is the promo card that you will get at your pre-release event. And just from first glance, this card is completely different than that beast that we just saw. Preston, you who just attended DLC, maybe this border on this Timon resembles something very, very similar or remotely similar to what you've seen recently.
Yeah, so the border, what we have here, again, the rarity icon, OP play, that is consistent. So that is for playing Lorcana, but specifically the border is new here. I say the border, not necessarily the lower 10%, but the upper 90 is new. So this is something that I don't think we have that image, but this is something that they started doing with the OP play promos here. So basically, we saw the beginnings of this border and security foiling with the DLC Season 2 cards. So this current DLC, both foil and non-foil. The security foiling is actually this, I call it the golden snitch, kind of wings to the left and to the right. So the security foilings here, but all store level OP play cards will now have this gold border around it. They did this for two reasons. One is that the security foiling was never a thing on store cards, so that's new. But two is they wanted these promos to tell a story of progression. So at the, say, Timon level, you have local casual OP level, but then as you work your way up, like the DLC cards and the Tinkerbell set championship card, they drop the border, and instead they still have that golden stitch wing at the bottom, and then it kind of elevates from there to the golden Mickey. So uh, these actually were around before things like the Simba and Elsa were created. So
Yeah,
people,
we just learned that in what the art main stage that happened the other day. Although we saw the DLC cards first because
yeah,
we just saw them at Richmond and Milwaukee and stuff like that. Turns out the borders on these weekly play promo cards and stuff like that that we're seeing were actually created first. And let me hit you with this, because I know you're calling it the golden snitch, and I absolutely love that. But I think that it's very, very reminiscent, especially that bottom border part, easier to see on the DLC cards than what it is this, but it's a lore book opening up. Those are the pages.
is it? Look
Yeah,
at
so it's
that.
a
I never
book
noticed that.
opening up.
Huh.
Even more story being told there.
Well, I'll be daggone. Look at that. Butter my biscuit. Look at that. That's
The-
cool.
yeah.
Well,
Then moving on
you were
again.
talking, Dylan, about how these were before the DLCs. Well, what was it at Gen Con? They said they were already in the planning stages on set 20 or 21. So that would
Yeah,
make
I believe that
sense.
was in an interview that Liam did with some of the one of the folks. I don't. They
Yeah.
talked to quite a bit there with Naomi, and it might have been with Naomi, where they said they were on set 20. Again, I'd love for another one of those for them to just be like, oh, yeah, this is the current set that we're currently at. Because, I mean, that was back in the end of July, early August. They said they were on set 20. So there's no telling. They could be on set 50 right now, for all we know. But moving on from Timon, we now have our weekly play promos that you can get by participating in your weekly league. First, you have Grandma Tala connected to nature. So I guess we can kind of talk about these cards a little bit as they pop up. Yeah, you have the special borders and you have that new icon and stuff. But this is kind of our first look at some new Winterspell cards. This Grandma Tala, uninkable, 12 cost. That's hefty, hefty, hefty.
Most
But this
expensive card.
ability, Ancestor's Gift, for each card in your inkwell, you pay one less to play this character. Again, as someone who notably doesn't play a lot of Sapphire, Preston, how easy is it going to be to actually get this card out?
I mean, it just depends on how you play it. Like if you go 2 4 6, like Tipo Sale Cinderella, you could be looking at math is hard. We're recording this in the morning, so I had to caffeinate, so my brain may not be working the entire way. But in theory, as soon as I mean, you're looking at half the cost at 6 ink. So yeah, for each card in your inkwell, you pay one. Yeah, so in theory, 2 4 6, as early as turn 4 potentially. To make it reasonable. So.
It's
Um,
crazy.
yeah, it's fun. I wish she was a shift, but um, yeah, I think this is the most expensive ink cost card we have in Lorcana. So
It's up there, but like you can cheat her out so early with the way that people ramp in Sapphire. And then what do we have next here? We have White Rabbit Late Again. This is a 2 cost inkable emerald card. Evasive 2/2. But notably, this has the underdog ability, which we are going to talk about in more in depth later on. But this underdog ability, it says if this is your first turn and you're not the first player, you pay one less to play this character. So this 2/2/2 quest for one evasive character, typically, I think a very similar card is there's a Ruby Daisy Duck. Um, but notably, this would actually be a 1 cost character instead of a 2 cost character if you're on the play or on the draw. And then lastly, we have Eliza, is that how we say it? Eliza Maza or
Lisa,
Lisa Maza? Still need to go back and watch Gargoyles. Matt is probably shaking his head at me right now as we speak. This is a 3 cost inkable ruby card, 4/4, who has Stone by Day, notably. So she's transformed into a gargoyle. And then Forever Strong, your character's strength can't be reduced below their printed value. Is
where's
that the
Tiana
first
at?
time yeah, like is this the first time we're seeing this ability?
I think so. I know we've obviously had strength reduction, but not preventing strength reduction. So
Yeah, it's
this
not
card got a lot of
war.
attention.
But, like, it's specifically, like, you cannot reduce this character's strength at all. So, I mean, you're talking, like, a lot of amber cards, that reduce strength, and I think there's a lot of sapphire items and cards that also reduce strength. They're just not gonna have any effect on her.
Tiana's shaking in her boots and beignets.
Oh, yeah. Moving on from promos, I think this is something we always like to do. We'll try to get through this pretty quickly or whatever, but this is something that we always like to do when a new set is releasing. There's 204 cards in every set, not including the enchanteds, epics, iconics, this, that, whatever. But we don't have the time to go on and talk about every one of them. So we just get together and we go through the lot and pick some of our favorites. So the first off, and I'll kick us off here, and I think this is probably not only my favorite card in this set, but this is going to be the most meta impactful card. I'm calling it now. This is going to be one of the most meta impactful cards in all of Lorcana, and that is Mulan, Resourceful Recruit, who also has an enchanted, but we'll got the regular version here. 2 cost, inkable emerald card, 1/4, Mulan, Resourceful Recruit. This ability is ridiculous. So rigorous training. Whenever this character quests, gain lore equal to her strength to a maximum of 6 lore. That's insane. So you have a 2 cost character that can potentially quest for 6 or whatever on turn 3.
So if you've listened to the show since the beginning, you know that Dylan likes two types of decks. One is bodyguard, and two is support.
Oh yeah, support is going to eat this up. And that's not to mention, and we don't even have it in the notes, but there is a Ruby card, like a Ruby action or whatever, that I believe is a song, so you can sing
Mhm.
potentially on turn 3 or whatever, or just hard cast that boosts a character's strength by 5. Is that Gosh, and it's a Mulan themed card too. It's almost like they intentionally had it. If we had single player decks this set, I can almost bet that we would have a Emerald Ruby one that has those two cards in it just for that synergy. Is it Great
Force of a
Typhoon?
Great Typhoon.
Force of a Great Typhoon. So it's +5 strength. So you turn 2 Mulan, turn 3 Force of a Great Typhoon. You're increasing her strength to 6, and then she'll be able to quest for 6, which that's where the cutoff is at 6. So it's almost like those two cards play off of each other perfectly. But outside of Emerald Ruby support decks, whether it be Sapphire with that Alice Growing Girl or other Sapphire cards, or even a Lemon Lime Emerald Amber deck with some support, this card is crazy, and she will be able to quest for a lot. And even though she's a 2 cost, she's also a great finisher because she can pop off and quest for a lot at the near the end of a game. And let me tell you, there's an action in Emerald, 3 cost uninkable, that you can play right now called You Came Back, that allows you to ready a character and quest it again. So Mulan potentially
Oh,
questing for 12 on 1 turn. It's a little insane. Personally, I'm trying to make her work in some Baja with that Alice growing girl because I think Alice potentially questing for 5 and Mulan questing for 6 on the same turn is just lots of fun. Um, then moving on to the next one, this is one of my wife's favorite cards, and this is Hey Hey Persistent Presence. This is a reprint. And I know this isn't like a brand new card, groundbreaking or anything like that, but there's something special about this card that I want to point out. And that is its text, because in a way, it now has an errata. So its ability, He's Back. When this character is banished in a challenge, return this card from your discard to your hand. Notably updated. This is a ability that we've seen with many, many cards in the past where when they are banished in a challenge, return this card to your hand. This is return this card from your discard to your hand. This is super important that they have updated this text for many reasons. For one, when we're playing Lorcana, there's lots of steps that we kind of just skip over, and nobody pays attention with abilities like this because we're at a certain pace. Like whenever you play, character is banished, it would typically go to your discard, then return to your hand. We completely skip over that step of putting it into your discard,
yeah.
but that's important with a lot of interactions whenever it comes to rules. Let's say that you have a Floodborn, and that Floodborn on top, or if there's a card underneath at all, it has that ability or whatever. Both of those cards would go to the discard, and only that card on top would return to your hand. This isn't like the bounce package from before. This is also important with whispers that have tons of cards that you can put under them now. And we also have cards like the Horn King and all kinds of other cards. Horn King's notably the one that I think of right now that released last set, who he gets extra lore if a card was returned
From
from
the
your
disc.
discard. This set, oh, there's an Anna. The Anna who also has a enchanted this set. He becomes a shift 0. She's a 5 cost Floodborn who becomes a shift 0 if a card was returned from your discard. So you could potentially like have a little Anna on board, Hey Hey turn 2, and then sack Hey Hey in order to go ahead and shift Anna for free.
Sacrifice.
Little insane. And then next is Stegmunt the Clumsy Dinosaur. Notably, I haven't watched Darkwing. I haven't read the comics, so I'm not really too familiar with this character. Big boy, 8 cost, inkable, 7/7 that quest for 2. For each item card in your discard, you pay 1 less to play this character. This is, again, one of those things that we've talked about before too, Preston, is a lot of these like shift targets and stuff like that, or well, not shift targets, but we've talked about like the funny ways that cards can shift by like discarding an item or discarding a character and stuff like that. They have reintroduced this it's not a shift, but the way that you play the characters, the cost reduction. We haven't seen something like this since I think set 5, where it was like for the number of items, for the number of ink, for the number of characters with support. I think my favorite is there's a Kristoff for the number of songs in your discard. You're paying less. So seeing that return's cool, but forget everything else. The only thing important on Stegma, the clumsy dinosaur, that I want to point out is his little classifications here. You have Storyborn, Ally, Dinosaur.
Dinosaur.
Dinosaur. This is the first card with the dinosaur tag that we are receiving, and I think that this is a setup card. The same way that we got Duckworth in Whispers, who had the ghost tag, which kind of set up all of our Christmas Carol characters from this set who are ghosts. Dinosaur is now going to be setting up, let's see, Rex from Toy Story could have the dinosaur tag. Um, the Good Dinosaur, right? Where we're getting Pixar coming soon with Toy Story and stuff. So once the Good Dinosaur is here, you could have Arlo and everybody else. What are some other notable dinosaurs? I don't know if I have any listed here or not. Gosh, I can't think of any off the top of my
Rex.
head. Yeah, we said Rex.
Oh,
Rex,
that's right.
Arlo. I'm sure there's some other dinosaurs we're missing, and if our mind's blanking right now, you can think of some other dinosaurs, or you guys got time to Google it while we don't. Let us know down in the comments who we missed, because I know there are more dinosaurs in Disney that we are missing out on. Oh, Meet the Robinsons, the T-Rex from Meet the
Oh
Robinsons.
yeah. You're not seeing it, John is belly laughing right now.
No, it's just funny because it was just like, oh.
And that's a franchise we
And
haven't even got cards from yet. So
I'm excited for this, and something that I don't think I've really talked about is I started just goofing around with a Sapphire Emerald items deck just to see what could work, and seeing Stegma here was like, oh, like there's item synergy in Emerald. So granted, we have Emerald items, right? But there's a lot of Sapphire cards that allow you to look for items and stuff like that. So I like the potential setup of a Baja item deck. So that's pretty fun.
And then lastly, the one card that I'm going to point out is Let's Get Dangerous. Again, if you've been following the podcast, and I know we were talking casinos earlier, but I like to gamble with some of these cards. One of my favorite cards in the past was You Know the Way, which is making the rounds and stuff with that OTK deck and stuff. But I've been playing it for a long time. I think Let's Get Dangerous is another one of those gambly cards that are just going to be fun to play. This is a 4-cost inkable song. Each player shuffles their entire deck and reveals the top card. Each player who reveals a character card may play that character for free. Otherwise, put the revealed card on the bottom of their player's deck. I put the Enchanted in here for us to look at because I truly believe that this is, even though it's not directly Darkwing Duck, I think this is the most, or this is the best Darkwing Enchanted this entire set compared to the other Darkwing Enchanted. Yeah, this song is just so gambly, and it goes the the ability goes with the name so good. It just makes me like want to look at my opponent and be like, let's get dangerous, and then just like everybody shuffling their deck, both me and you at the same time, and then we reveal that top card, and if it's a character, we get to play it. We've seen something similar to this before without it being a song with a Emerald legendary action from Hercules. I forget the name of it, but this goes back into rules, and people just need to know how to play this card in advance, especially before pre-release. Note that whenever you play this card, yes, you and your opponent could be revealing cards at the same time, but you, as the player who sung the song or played this song, your character's abilities would go first. You play that card. So interactions per se, I play a card, I'm playing against Preston. Preston top decks a Hades Infernal Schemer with this. His Infernal Schemer would go off second because I'm the one who played the song, and that card that I just played would go bye-bye. So this is also like that dangerous aspect of, yeah, we're both getting to play a card for free, but I don't necessarily know what the outcome is going to be because whatever card you can play might deal damage to my character, might banish my character, could do anything. We have no clue. But just rules wise, know that whenever it comes to the bag in Disney Lorcana, when you play this and you need to resolve it, as the person who sung the song, played the card, your actions or character would resolve before your opponent's does.
Dylan was already trying to break what card was that? Todd was it? Like, and I think we'll talk about that. But Dylan was already trying to break it. I was like, the bag, the bag, the bag has
The
to be
bag.
restored. The bag. No, and we'll talk about this briefly, but I think this is the first one of the first enchanteds we're showing in the show here. But the art style with the enchanteds is quite fun, and there's a technical term for this style of art, and it's one that if you're in the Discord, you saw me say something about like layered cardboard or something like that, or like cardboard paper. I was trying to find the name, but Dylan found it, and that is what was it?
It's
Paper.
paper cut. This is a very Nordic or Scandinavian style of art that I don't have. I think yeah. So there's a article that just popped up. Not too long ago. It might have been yesterday. It's the creative spotlight that they actually had with the senior art director McKay Anderson, and just this quote right here. Because someone asked, it says, "Each set's enchanted and iconic cards have had distinct art styles based on their respective set. How would you describe the look and feel of the enchanted and iconics in Winterspell?" And if I could find it, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. That we worked with some amazing and trusted artists to find a fun blend of holiday cards. So invoking what you would see with your holiday cards that you would pass out around whatever holiday, Christmas, whatever. Scandinavian simplified illustration and paper cut with just a touch of Disney magic.
I wasn't crazy. There was a word for it. I just did not know what it was called.
Yep. I think they pulled that off well. But
Yeah.
moving on to the next possible enchanted that we can show off here. Believe that's a card that you have interest in, Preston. That a lot of people are going to have interest in.
A lot of people have interest in, and there's other cards that I wanted to talk about, but I felt like it was important that we talked about the return of this mechanic, so that's why I picked it out for this. But we now have a board wipe returning into Lorcana in Winterspell, and that is Raging Storm. You're probably seeing the enchanted of it, and you're probably noticing that it's not Ruby, it is Amber. So I love how Rochelle teased it because Rochelle just showed the ability and nothing else. And they were like, "Oh, here's this. We'll come back to this later." And everyone's like, What do you mean?" We're like, "You just can't tease that." But um, Raging Storm is an 8 cost uninkable action. Love how we have Leela and Stitch. I think we have the non-enchanted in here as well, which has, I think, just some original flavor text. But the ability of Raging Storm is simply put, just like Be Prepared, banish all characters. So a couple things with this.
Banish all characters. Not a
Banish
song,
all characters.
right?
Not a song. Not a
I think
song.
that's the most important thing to talk about there is the fact that even though it's in amber, yes, it's uninkable, but you cannot sting it unlike B prep.
And I loved how they broke down their reasoning for this. And this isn't quotes, don't quote me on this. This is just very rough notes I have. But whenever way back whenever Fabled and set rotation took place, they always said that they would reintroduce a board wipe if they felt it was needed. So whether or not they are afraid, not afraid, but whether or not there is a current or upcoming deck archetype that justifies this, we don't know. But they took it out of Ruby because they felt that Ruby was very good at single and multi-target banishing, like Sisu, like Headless Horseman, stuff like that. So they wanted to take the board wipe out of Ruby, and they kept coming back to Amber. And very similar to Dylan's probably favorite deck in all of Winterspell was the support buffing things with support and then banishing with Minnie Mouse. They said that Amber can deal with strong characters. What if they could deal with a strong board state? So they kept coming back to Amber and the 8 cost. Be Prepared was 7. This is an 8 cost. And they said that they tried 7, but they ultimately landed at the 8 cost for the board wipe. And obviously, I think we can all kind of, just like Dylan mentioned, it's not a song, and we could probably all guess as to why. And because this would be a very early board wipe, you could cheat out with a few cards as soon as what, turn 3, turn 4, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you can get Mickey Mouse. I think with the new Angel card, who has the Underdog ability, if you're on the draw, you play her turn 1. She's a singer 3. You sing her new song that's in Latin, Acud et Amute. I think that's how it's pronounced. You sing it. Then on turn 2, you're able to cheat out a Mickey Mouse Amber Champion who, if you have 2 more other Amber characters in play, he has Singer 8, and he would be able to just sing this, which, I mean, you might not wanna sing it too early anyways. I mean, what's the point
Right.
of cheating it out early? Um, Notably, going back to what you said with removal, I think that this was a balancing aspect as well that they
Yep.
brought up with how much removal is actually in each ink color. Ruby has tons of removal already as it is. So does Emerald, with the fact that it deals damage in a way. It might deal damage to chosen character with damage already on them, or it might deal damage overall. And the same goes for Still. Still loves to batter and splash damage everywhere. Sapphire is the one who doesn't have too much reduction, but it does, or removal, but it has removal in a sense that I'm going to put stuff in the inkwell. We're going to get rid of things that way. Amber was lacking removal. Naming cards, I mean, sure, I love the Minnie Mouse. The Minnie Mouse was great, being able to play with that support mechanic and boost your strength to remove. Outside of that, we had Minnie, the Horseman Strikes, and World's Greatest Criminal
Borderless.
Mind. I think that's the only removal that Amber had that I can really think of. So just balancing the ink colors, if you needed to stick removal somewhere else, Amber was the ink color that needed removal more than any other color.
Yep. And this is something that we'll talk about in just a little bit, how Winterspell's a very balancing set. But I think all in all, like I don't want to spend too much time on it. Is it gonna be something that's gonna go immediately in every single Amber deck? I don't
Oh,
think so. This is I in my initial impression of it is I think it's gonna be a very tech card. I could see maybe 1 or 2 copies of it. And it's kind of punishing too, because the whole benefit with Be Prepared is you could sing it with a 8 cost Sisu, reserve your ink to play things following the board wipe. With this would effectively take your whole turn, assuming that you have exactly 8 ink, for example. If you have more,
yeah,
that's
this
different.
this is a hard reset to the entire, like, in play. Like, this is just a hard reset. Like, you're either ahead and you're asserting your dominance on a player who's on the comeback, or you're like, you know what, you're just so far ahead. Boom, here it is. Let's just restart this entire game from right here.
Yeah. It's it's gonna be wild, and I haven't given it too much thought, but Amber Ruby Infinity deck, so 2 board wipes, whew. Like it's gonna be wild. But yeah, the B prep, the board wipe is back. I really enjoyed the reasoning behind it. I think they were pretty transparent in that, and I think for them to bring back such a catalyst card, it needed explaining, and I think they did a really good job justifying and explaining why it is in this form. So beautiful enchanted. Make no mistake about it. This is and what's the normal rarity on this? Let me let's see. Let's be the
Uh,
last point. The normal rarity.
is it super rare?
Hold on, because that's also important to
There's,
mention here
there's
as
an app
well.
for that.
Yeah, and there's also Google. Let's see here. Super rare. Yep, not rare. So Being Prepared was rare. Raging Storm was super rare. So um, Yeah, we'll leave it at that. I think it's definitely an interesting card. I think it's something we're gonna see immediate play from all Amber decks, but finding that balance, I think, is gonna be the key. So
Amber Sapphire Princesses.
princesses, Amber, what was it? Amber dogs, even as well. But again, you think about, it's an expensive thing to pull off. There's way. I think there's ways to cheat it out in Amber, if I recall correctly. Or there in Emerald. There's
In
ways to cheat
Emerald,
out actions.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's action reduction.
So we'll see. We'll see what people cook up with it. Definitely, probably one of the most, not the most interesting card in the set, but it's just one that's coming back. That the ability was so pivotal in pre-rotation. But enough about Raging Storm. John, you're excited because you got a franchise near and dear to your heart.
Oh yeah, we got Fox and the Hound. I'm not one to look at cards when they come out. I'm one who look at them after they have all of them out. That's why I'm always asking at the end. I'm like, okay, is this all the cards? Can I start looking now? I glance at them.
Deck building now.
Yeah, I glance at them and I go, oh, that art is nice, but I don't pay much attention to the flavor text, but till it's important. But yeah, so we got several coppers and Todds. The one cost copper, it's just the cutest art that you've ever seen in your life.
Oh my God,
I mean, it's, as I think my wife would say, that card is so cute, I would just want to eat it. Because it's just so cute. It's not a fancy card. You show your hand when it's played. It's the flavor text is found you. Because if you've ever watched a movie, they play hide and seek a lot because, of course, he's a hunting dog. The big one, as I try to pull it up while I am talking, is the ruby copper. Oh, and the one copper, I will say this, it plays well with the green 3-shift copper, which you could shift it, and it's let's see, whenever this character quests, your characters with evasive gets +1 lore, which, surprise, surprise, spoiler alert, Todd is evasive in his shift, so it works well with Todd. But the big one is the ruby copper. That's a 6/8/5. I think Dylan summed it up perfectly and said, is this the new Maui? Yes, with Rush and Reckless.
I mean, he costs one more, but I can. He's gonna be inserted right into that spot, right? Rush, Reckless, 8/5. Just crash him out like Maui.
He is he's big. So here I am I say running a color I've never run before, but I have run green red, but it was Pirates. It wasn't a tech thing. So I'm like, okay, now I've actually got to look at what red and green cards do other than a theme. So, and then of course they have, like I said, the Todd. He's a legendary. He's a shift 5. He's evasive. Twice during your turn, whenever this character is chosen for an action or an ability, you may ready him. So explain that to me, Dylan.
Okay, so this Todd now has the opportunity to quest 3 times. I mean, yeah, you could do other things, but you're going to be able to ready this guy twice. So twice during your turn, whenever this character is chosen for an action or an item's ability, you may ready him. So hypothetically, Todd quest for 2. You play an action or choose him for an item that says chosen character. You get to ready him. You quest him again. You can do the same thing. You can quest him again. You could potentially quest for 6 in one turn with this Todd at base. At base, that's not including extra stuff like you talked about, how there's a copper who gives your evasive characters extra lore.
Right.
You got both of them on board. This guy's questing for 9 in one turn. There's ways to boost how much he's going to quest for.
Yeah.
And let the record be known, no, you cannot pre-fire 2 Medal of Heroes into the bag. No, it was a very valid question. But I think, just like we talked about on the previous card, we talked about the ruling, the Let's Get Dangerous with Todd. You cannot pre-fire actions with him. or items with him. So the order of sequence with this would be like ideally quest for 3. He's exerted. You would target him with an action or item ability. He's re-ready. You would quest again. You would have to retarget him with another action or ability, ready, and then quest again. You can't chain that off because you cannot quest while there are items in the bag. So you cannot take gameplay actions, like even inking and stuff like that, while things like actions and item abilities are in the bag. You have to resolve those before you do it. But if you look at our Discord, you just have me with a little gif of 2 penguins beating each other with a bat. I was like, "Stop it, Dylan! Stop it!"
But
but
you
still,
could
questing
turn
for 3.
around.
Questing
Yeah,
3
well,
times.
not even. Yeah, I mean Todd, you could turn around, have him quest for 2, choose him for a Medal of Heroes, give him +2 lore. He's going to ready. You could quest for another 4, and then hit him with another Medal of Heroes, ready him up, and he's going to quest for 6.
Yeah.
So that's
And if you have that
6,
copper
that's
out,
12.
that's
That's
it's like
right.
another one on top of that.
I
you
think
know,
it's
so-
it's 15 on one turn if you do it that way. If copper is on board, and if copper's not on board, it's still 12 in one turn.
Leave up your dragon fires.
yeah, here we go. I'm looking forward to it once I figure it out.
It's fun, and I think a general consensus with the cards that we've pointed out and are going to point out is, in Winter or in Whispers in the Well, we got the boost ability, which was the fancy new shiny thing, but we have seen multiple cards revealed throughout the past couple weeks that are just brand new mechanics that we've never seen before. Preventing strength reduction, re-readying with Todd, and Stegmunt with the item synergy, Grandma Tala with how much ink is your inkwell. So this is a really fun card, and because I think we had not an OTK, but we had some sort of archetype in like Floodborn. It was something Sapphire and something else, but people were questing for 17, 18 lore in one turn. I don't remember the exact round about it, but
the only one I remember ever doing that is stupid Tamatoa.
Yeah.
Oh, this was like outside. Maybe it was Tamatoa. I don't know. I forget. But it's nice to see fresh, new, fun mechanics making their way into the game.
Well, and one card that I will say that I looked through the notes and it wasn't in here that will probably go in my deck, and that is the Game Preserve location. It's the first ever. Well, I'll just read it. While there's a character with
yesterday.
Well, it says while there's a character with evasive here, this location gains evasive, and it's a 2 lore, 2 passive lore. So
gnarly.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
What's the cost to move characters over to that?
1. It's 3 cost. It's 1. It only has 4 strength, or 4 whatever. But still, it only costs 1 to move it over there. So you're going to want to get rid of it as quickly as possible.
And ironically, that's a really good segue to some like standout card mechanics as well. So not only do we have this location with evasive now, but boosting remains a thing inside the game. So you have boosted characters. Whispers are still around, notably that they don't have the special border anymore. They're just standard, but the boost is there. But notably, we do have locations with boost. And we kind of figured this was going to be a thing because in Whispers in the Well, we got cards that said if there is a boosted location, there's some wording around that. But Scrooge's Counting House, a 2-cost inkable location, 1 to move, 4 willpower, 1 lore, with boost 2. So again, boost is where you pay the ink cost and you can put the top card of your deck under your deck face down, unless it's like you may put a card under. Whenever you play this character, you may boost a card of some degree. There's a few things like that. But good business is this location gets 1 strength and 1 lore for each card under it. So boosted locations are now a thing. And we'll talk about ink pies in a little bit, for lack of better words, but we've seen Ruby kind of double down with their location synergy this set, because not only do we have this Ruby location. One thing I don't think we have inside our notes today is we do have that new legendary Ruby Elsa, which is only the second Ruby Elsa we've had in the game that has location synergy. So boosted locations are here, and there's a lot of Ruby cards that synergize with locations. I think they even mentioned in the Lorecast that Ruby cares about locations, which was
I
an
think it has for a
interesting.
while.
Yeah,
Like I know it sounds weird, but truthfully, I think it's one of those like hidden in plain sight type of things that Ruby cares about location. One card in particular I look back at is the what is it, Maui 3 cost song or action or something pulled from the sea.
Islands I pulled from the sea. Yep.
Islands I pulled from the sea, and I believe I forget what set it actually came out in. Set 6. So Islands I pulled from the sea. This is a search your deck for a location card. So it goes back to like your Merlin Visionary that you talk about. It's always cool to be able to just pick up your entire deck and look through it for a particular card. This is a card that allows you to do that, but you get to search your entire deck for a location card. Reveal that card to all players and put it into your hand, and then shuffle your deck. There's all kinds of stuff. That entire set and set 6, I believe that there was a big legendary Moana that came out too that gained extra lore and stuff based around locations. There
It's been a
was
minute since
a
we've seen Ruby
there's been
location.
things that, but they are definitely like concrete in stone, bleh, specifically saying now that Ruby is locations.
So and this is kind of opens up a whole other can of worms. But immediately, whenever I start seeing these Ruby cards, I'm like, Ruby Steel locations because John Silver got reprinted. So it's gonna be really neat to see what people kind of cook up. Um, Second is, so we have the boost locations. Boost remains a thing. Who knows how long it'll be around, but it's at least here for the time being. The next one, and we did mention this a little bit earlier in the show, was this brand new Underdog ability, which I believe this Amber Angel, the Siren Singer, was one of the first Winterspell cards we had seen, but a 2-cost inkable. Note that 2/2 questing for 1 with Singer 3. So the important thing around this is that this Underdog ability, this is not unique to Angel. This is going to be unique to some other cards. I think one of each ink type. But this Underdog ability is, if this is your first turn and you are not the first player, you pay 1 less ink to play this character. So effectively, if you are going first, if John and I were playing, if John was going first, John could not play this card because it would cost 2 ink to play it for John. If John and I were playing and John was the second player, if John was going second, meaning that he was not the first one to go, if this is his first turn, then this angel card would cost 1 to play. And this is something that they've doubled down into a little bit, is they wanted, I don't want to say, we assume that they obviously wanted the player who is going second to have some sort of, not advantage, but some sort of equilibrium to play slightly more powerful cards or equal cards to going first here. So
Sure.
One Drop Cinderella is back in a sense, but the
I
Underdog
think the
ability we
biggest
see throughout.
complaint with Lorcana that you always hear people from the beginning, from since the first chapter, the biggest complaint has been if you win the dice roll, you win the game.
Yeah.
And I think the underdog ability kind of solves that in a way. It takes that, I mean, yeah, it forces you to play the underdog cards,
Right.
but it kind of takes away that aspect or that idea that if you win the dice roll, you're automatically going to win.
Yep. I think it's pretty cool, and it's there. I think there's at least one underdog in each ink color, I believe. So I don't know
Uh-huh.
how many, but yeah. Regardless of, obviously, your deck strategy is going to depend whether or not these are beneficial. But I think it's cool. This is something I could see sticking around for sets to come. I don't think this is necessarily thematic with Winterspell in any necessary way. I could, depending on how this experiment, I say experiment, but depending on how this plays out, I could see this being something going forward. So it's nice to have some upper hand in some degree to this. And I want to ask our resident Steel Song expert, John, in the room. Whenever you see this angel, you think about either Infinity or your traditional songs deck. What's your initial impression on being able to play this potentially on turn one?
I like it, especially in core, because we lost Cinderella. So if I go second, at least I get that singer 3 out first. So I can sing a song earlier. I really haven't dug into to see what's Amber Steel is going to look like Steel Song this time around, if it's going to change any. I don't think it is, but I don't know. To me, it's if I'm running a Amber Steel sing song deck, I'm going to Steel Song deck, I'm going to put it in there, because why not?
Right.
Well, in general, with this new Underdog ability, does it now encourage you to go second if you do win the dice roll and you get to choose if you want to go first or second?
I didn't think about that. I mean, I guess it depends on the card and the deck you're running.
Or what you're running.
Yeah, what you're running.
Yeah. It certainly makes it less punishing in a sense. And I think we've all seen the memes where, like, in Fable and Whispers in the Well, it's like me practicing for Lorcana. It's like throwing dice over and over again. So it's just going to depend on what we see cook up, but it certainly makes it less punishing. Like, obviously, if you win the dice roll, you're going to go first twice in a best of 3. Go first twice in a best of 3. But I don't know. I think it's too early to tell, but I like it. I think there's benefit, and there's definitely room to grow with this too. With Underdog, they could, rather than it being, I could see them potentially expanding this from paying 1 less ink for this character to maybe having like a special ability if you are the second player and it's not your first turn. But I digress. Lastly, because we do want to make sure that we get to a little bit of lore here and what's happening in Winterspell, because we did get that revealed, is we do have the return of these connecting borderless foils, which prepare to
drink.
Take a drink. Yes, prepare to take a shot of soda or something like that. Every time you see this online, but I forget when we had. Was it Jafar? It was Jafar, right? We had the connecting cards. It was Huey, Dewey, Louie. But Roo and Kanga are back, or not necessarily back, but they're here. But they have these borderless cards. So we have the connecting art now, where every time you open a pack and you see Roo or Kanga in the foil spot, you're going to have a heart attack because you think it's an enchanted or an iconic, and it's not.
Or
it's going to be.
Or a misprint. Yeah. That's the big question everybody asks.
And I believe they said, and don't quote me on this, but roughly quoting, I believe they said that this is something that they always wanted to return. It's just, I don't know why it took a thing. It's cool. It's creative. I've seen some pretty cool frames pop up with like people framing the Huey, Dewey, Louie, and or maybe having like some sort of frame with small things. But that's cool.
This is
the
my
art's
favorite.
Beautiful here.
Yeah, and the art's this connecting, out of all the connecting cards that we've had, even with the crocodiles from the Rescuers. What is it, Brutus? I forget
Brutus
the other one.
Nero.
Yeah, like that one's cool. The Huey, Dewey, and Louie are cool, but this Roo and Kanga, I think by far so far, is my absolute favorite connecting piece of art that we have through 2 cards. It's just beautiful.
I only
because they're in the Illuminary.
I only have one issue with it. They're backwards. It needs to be kangaroo, not Roo Kanga.
Oh.
Sorry.
No, it's got, and I like it because, one, they're whispers, so they still have this whispery type art to it, but it's probably just Dylan's scared because they're in the Great Illuminary.
Absolutely. No, I mean, yeah, the art's just great. I think it's just really, really cozy, man. Yeah, they're inside the Great Illuminary, and I think that transitions us into the next little section here of a little bit of lore. I'm not going to go deep into the lore because we have some card tricks up our sleeves in the near future that will cover the lore more in depth. The Kanga and Roo, if we can leave it pulled up there for a minute, this is actually going to be near the end of Winterspell. So Winterspell and every set as a whole, they tell a story throughout all of their art. Roo and Kanga is near the end of that story. And if we actually look at Rue's flavor text there, it says, "Look, Mama, the icy magic is going away. Aren't the flowers pretty?" And this is kind of our transition from the end of Winterspell as the ice and storm from Winterspell does subside and transitions us into those flowers and stuff that you're going to see in the spring of Wilds Unknown. Um, but yeah, the story of Winterspell, we asked so many questions and there were tons of theories, especially within the Discord, about what caused Winterspell because this game's been around for 2 years. We've had winter sets released in the past, but the realm of Lorcana has never been covered in snow, and we official have the actual reason as to why. And the answer is simple, and I think it's something that we all kind of like
We joked about.
we joked about. I mean, we knew it was one of those things. It was the most obvious, and I'm surprised that they went with the most obvious route in a sense. But it was Elsa. Disney Lorcana does this wonderful thing. It reminds me of Kingdom Hearts in a way of it tells its own story, but it pulls so much from the original material of the movies and stuff to back that story up. So in the same way that Elsa lost control of her icy magic powers in the movie Frozen and sent all of Arendelle into this winter wonderland, the exact same thing happens in Lorcana. So if we go over to Lorcana's website and read this, it says flurries of fun. Get ready for the coolest adventure of the storm. Blah blah blah. I think there's a section with frozen cards on here. A frozen blast. Okay. As a mysterious vine begins to grow in the Inklands, this vine going to continuously be a thing that we see. We saw it in Henwin's Vision last set. We see the vine continuously grow now. There's even the card Freeze the Vine, which I think we have in the show notes here. Also got an enchanted version. Says an Elsa Glimmer attempts to stop its growth with her mystical powers. I still think last set, whenever we got that the song card, Can't Hold It Back Anymore, that yes, it was that song card, but just that text alone, Can't Hold It Back Anymore, that she was referring to the vines in general, that she was trying to freeze and stop. Um, Says, but however, this inadvertently causes a winter storm to blow through the realm. In this adventure, you'll not only happen upon this incredible ice artisan, but other glimmers during crisp new looks. So yeah, Elsa was trying to freeze this vine. She lost control of her icy powers in the same way that she did in Frozen, and she creates all of Winterspell. And if you look at Elsa's art, again, we don't have those pictures here, but if you go in and you look at Elsa's art in the set and even the Let It Go, it's kind of as if that the vine or the idea of these flowers have mixed with her own winter spell type frozen powers, and you see that in her design of her outfit. I love how Elsa's outfits always change, whether it's Frozen, Frozen 2, whatever. Like she's constantly changing her look up. This lady, she's got like a magical wardrobe or something, but like it's almost like the flowers and plants are now entwined with her actual dress and her appearance and look this set. And the Illuminary completely frozen, and you see it in the key art of Winterspell. Elsa is in the same way that in Frozen, she went to her ice palace or ice castle or whatever in the movie. She is now within the Great Illuminary and is just enjoying her isolation there at this moment. We'll talk more in depth about this lore and the actual like how we go from this frozen winter spell to that moment that you see with Roo and Kanga coming out of winter spell. What changes? What happens within the art and the lore and the story of this set overall? That we're going to go through that entire transition.
I think one thing important to note too is there's one thing, I think one pivotal thing we don't know about Winterspell yet, and that is lore cards. We don't know if we are getting lore cards in this set. And I think I would imagine it's a safe assumption because they've done it since, goodness, Arc Ages. So,
But
with the exception of Halo,
they've
but
also advertised it every set prior to the set's release. I feel like in sets previous since Arcasia's by this time, 2 weeks out, 2 weeks removed, or whatever, we would have already seen a photo or something or a reveal or heard them talking about how there were going to be lore cards.
So, I mean, the art, they've done a really good job telling the story through the art. But just like you mentioned, the transition, I would really hope that they would have lore cards to help that tell that transition, because I think all cards are officially revealed, right?
Believe so.
I
Outside
believe
of
so.
maybe some epics or something.
So I'm curious if we'll get it, and I don't know. We could sit here and speculate, but it's just going to be one of those things we won't know until we see somebody open a pack, or they come out and share the fact that they're lore cards. But I think it's so funny because like I think there's a lot of theories. We're like, oh, what if Slushy caused it, or
Yeah.
L
Which we
did
did get a
Elsa
slushy
sneeze?
card.
Yeah, we did get a slushy card. I was like, I remember inside the main stage, I was like, did anyone else think that like slushy was going to be the cause? But ironically, we've joked about it. Elsa sneezed, froze West Virginia, and apparently froze um, all of Lorcana as well. But and we'll mention this in just a little bit, but this vine. I think a lot of this goes back to Hinwin, right? Because Hinwin's vision, there was vines in the vision. Was that right in that card?
Yeah, so Hinwin is just this magical pig that can see into the future. So it was just a tease. And again, that was a Ryan Miller reveal too, I do believe, during one of the lore casts of him showing off the pig. It's like, follow the trail, follow the pig. Um, but it's just Hinwin getting a vision of the future in the same way that Merlin has in the past when he hit his head, that it just shows us a few sets ahead. I think this next story arc or whatever is following the vine.
Yeah. And there's a lot more that we'll notice, and as we see it, Dylan and is working on something to provide that on a silver platter. We won't spoil too much, but there's ideas cooking, and
All I'm going to say, and this goes back to the lore cards too. Two quick things. Number one, if they don't put lore cards in, I think that it is clear that it is a intentional choice that they are making in a sense or in a way to be like, you want the lore, go buy these new books that what stay Saturday? I think might come in the mail on Monday. So these new books that's going to have all the lore for sets. For two, we've said it in the past. Follow your favorite content creators to keep up with the lore and keep up with the story as it's actually occurring. So you don't have to wait 5 or 6 sets down the line to get a book, which we love. We like the books, but so you don't have to wait. For those impatient and who want to keep up with everything as it's taking place, there's tons of content creators out there that are covering it for you.
And see, one final thing on that is you make a good point. I really hope that's not the case, that they're going to stop the lore cards to add, to pivot to the books, because um, between experiments of more premium DLC emissions and events, and heavy merchandising and whatnot. Oh, like it kind of goes back to my point in the last episode, was I really dislike how we're gonna have to pay to get access to lore.
Yep.
And I hope we'll see what happens, but I really hope that they don't go that route, because that's going to be a little, I don't know, that seems a little squeezy, if
Mm-hmm.
you catch my drift. That's a little squeezy on merchandising, but we'll let that lie for a future segment. Um, Kind of breaking two final things on Winterspell, and then we'll be getting into what's after Winterspell, but uh overall opinions of Winterspell. Um, we've talked about this in Discord a little bit. I'll let Dylan lead us off. Overall, brief opinion on Winterspell as we are less than 13 days, or about 13 days from pre-release.
Point blank, I think this is a specific set where every card within the set that is being released is doing so intentionally to balance the game of Lorcana.
Yep.
In the past, we've had other sets where you look and you have all these different tags or classifications, like last set and Whispers. It was focus heavy on detectives and allies and this and that, whatever. In the past, it was pirates. This set, we have aliens. Outside of aliens, which is needed because you're introducing Lilo and Stitch to the series, you don't really have that. You have a hodgepodge of cool, yeah, you got the new dinosaur tag, but you have a couple more detectives. You have, I mean, I don't want to say a couple more allies, but going into the key whispers are back. You don't have a heavy focus specifically on tags or classifications. It's all a balancing act whenever it comes to abilities and I don't want to say keywords, but they've introduced this solidification of what they are keying collar pies. This is really neat to see, actually see in person. Ah,
We have it.
apparently I clicked off of things. We do have it somewhere. This is something that they just showed off, I believe, in main stage with the I don't remember what team it was. It wasn't the creative team or something, but this is an excellent breakdown, and I think that it is a cool unique learning tool too to show off to players that are new to the game or who want to learn. But this is just a breakdown of different keywords, and it goes far beyond that. And they said that they didn't really want to focus on everything else, but just the keywords, for instance, goes off what each ink color is good at or what they have or and stuff like that. I love that you see in Ruby you have Singer few. Just
You.
few. It was pretty cool to see. But that again, balancing act. They are breaking this down. I love that they are being transparent about it and they are showing this. I think seeing something like this before would have prevented some of our hot takes that we had whenever it came to Ruby Singers intentionally and them. What's the term or what's the word? What are the can't even think of it right now. Whenever they're wanting to represent inks of like they've talked
Ink
about it in the
identity.
past with like Fortisphere, like it
Ink
didn't
identity.
ink identity. I think yes, okay. I think that these collar pies, there we go. These collar pies actually break down the ink identities for us to where we can actually visually see it. And I just enjoy having these. Um, I want these to be somewhere else. I want these to be within the app or something like that. That way you have this just as like a little piece of key art somewhere to familiarize yourself with it, or even in a two-player set or anything that's coming up in the future. I think that this little image, this collar pie or anything like that, it should be a part of that for those new players that are coming to the game or wanting to deck build. And then a few other things there whenever it comes to balancing. I think that we have aggro is going to be good again. I absolutely love, and this is something we didn't talk about with new mechanics, but there are tons of new cards with abilities that are benefiting you, not challenging. I was going to say attacking, not challenging. Like if you don't have any one of your characters challenge this turn, then you're getting benefit. On top of that, whenever you play aggro decks, they kind of like bust their load too quick, a little bit too like in per se. You're drawing cards or top decking pretty soon because you're just flooding the board with lots of little characters. And Amber hasn't had a lot of card draw, and I think there are tons of cards in this set that are allowing you to continuously draw cards and keep up with aggro decks who we really haven't seen in the meta per se in DLCs and stuff as of recent. If you look back to season one, I think that like the Amber Amethyst aggro decks always stayed there up top a little bit and you're just not seeing it in season 2 at all. They've kind of fell outside of the Amber Still. Even Amber Still has kind of fell off a little bit, and these more control type decks are dominating right now, or like the evasive decks. Aggro just it can't keep up. So I think this is a good way to do it. But then with that card that you showed off earlier too, with that Raging Storm, that's not necessarily the way that you would want to play a amber deck or an aggro deck per se. So just the way in which Winterspell opens up so many new deck archetypes, even within certain combinations and collars, I think is really, really neat. And the most important thing to me is they are adding tricks for these Infinity DLCs before the Infinity DLCs get here. Because you've said it, you've talked about it in the past. There are two main decks that dominate DLCs. And I think that those are both item focused decks around Ruby Sapphire and Sapphire Steel. You kind of saw that at some of the events that you participated in at Milwaukee. And I think that this set being able to help aggro decks out a little bit to where you can get underneath these decks that need to set things up. I think that there are plenty of cards that remove items now, tons of cards that remove items. And then not only that, but my favorite aspect is something that I've talked about in the past is we needed more cards that would play around with the discard pile. I think we had like a queen in the past who did it, where you could tap her or exert her, and then you could remove 3 cards from your opponent's discard. There are tons of those now, where you can like take cards from your discard or your opponent's discard and put them on the bottom of their deck. That's fantastic against the Tamatoa and the item strategies that just want to recycle items from their discard. If you pull those items out, you get rid of their Paulsicles, they're not going to be able to continue to recycle Paulsicle and draw more cards off of it.
There's a lot of eyes on Infinity right now. There's going. I mean, Infinity's always been a format since rotation, but I think there's more eyes on it now more than ever because we do have time before Infinity really gets its spotlight at DLC threes. So it's something I'm closely watching, and yeah, I think between this and Wilds, I'm optimistic to think that there's going to be enough to shake that up.
I'm still predicting right now, like I've been saying it. I absolutely think that whenever the World Championship Season 2 rolls around, that the Infinity format will be one of the formats that the Illumineers there have to compete in.
Yep, I would agree with that. I could even see that replacing Super Sealed potentially. Um, Super Sealed, I think, was a fun experiment, a fun format, but yeah, I would like to see that. If again, it goes back to what we talked about, World Championship. You have to show your expertise across multiple formats, sealed and core. Um, yeah, there's a lot of eyes on it, and I'm excited to see what happens with all that. John,
Yes.
he had to catch up.
Yeah, sorry. I was trying to get ahead in things. On the other side, I like I said when I was talking about the cards, I haven't fully looked at every card to see what everything does. I will say from an art art side, all the art looks really, really good. The iconics, the enchanteds, the art on all of them are really, really sharp. I'll be happy with any of them. But this is my favorite time of year, 4 times a year, because, we get together and open packs, and I really enjoy when everybody comes over and we do it here. I don't know what the plans are yet. That's my birthday weekend, so I'm open for anything.
It sure is.
So, yes, I know I am
2
aware.
cases of winter stuff.
Not playing in the background.
I know.
We get to celebrate your birthday at pre-release, John.
I know it's that, and we get to the one thing that we didn't talk about is our store is having a contest with.
Oh yeah, we're saving that for next episode.
Oh, are we? Okay, all right. Well, then I won't. Won't foreshadow. I'll foreshadow it then. Is the word. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of evasives locations. But you're right. It is a balancing set. You could tell it after everything's been revealed that it's a balancing set. And once again, here we are in another set where I'm going to play something that I've not played before.
That's the best way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty comfortable playing Steel Song and my pirate decks and stuff like that. But then when it all got, I don't want to say all got taken away, but when it all rotated out, then it's like, okay, well now I've got to get something more, and that was the Blue Steel allies, and it's like, well, now I don't know how well that's going to run against some of this stuff now. And it may. I don't know. We'll find out. I mean, I'm going to keep it. But yeah, I mean, this set's going to be interesting. I think there's going to be a wide variety of different builds. It's not all going to be Blurple or all going to be, whatever. It's going to be a lot of different. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of variety, especially I think on the DLC side, on the CCQs and stuff like that. So should be interesting. But
It's very reminiscent to where we're pre-rotation. Like the
Yeah.
first, I feel like the first two sets, first chapter of Floodborne was very deck buildy, experimental, and then it's like a lot of things got rounded out in terms of play styles, not just competitive landscape related, but just archetypes in general. Felt very started to get very rounded and very clean and smooth in about Inklands, roughly about
Yeah.
set three. I felt like a lot of these archetypes were a lot more polished.
Yeah.
And that's something that, granted, I haven't played a lot of Lorcana since DLC. Outside of the one weekend we got together there for Winterspell hit West Virginia.
Yeah.
But my wife and I, we have two Infinity decks together, and that's one thing we noticed playing just random archetypes. Were like these styles feel very smooth in comparison to what we have right now.
Yeah. When is the next rotation? What?
Set 13.
Set 13. So
it'll
that's
be Q4. It's the set that
end of the
releases
year.
in Q4.
Okay.
Which we'll talk about that a little
This
later
year.
on in this too.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like
So-
end of the year. Okay. Yeah.
I'll keep mine brief because we do want to talk about the iconics. So Winterspell for me in the beginning was the closest I ever came to taking a break from Lorcana. I was a little hesitant and concerned at first for a lot of inks. Before I go on, I want to preface saying that they have squashed those concerns for the most part. I'm happy to see the cards we got, and it kind of rolled into two things. Is I was growing increasingly concerned about Amethyst in terms of Amethyst being too Amethyst, and I was growing concerned of card draw in the game. In the latest, I think, game dev main stage, since I had made those just kind of general like this is going to be a little interesting, but since then they have given other inks conditional card draw, which I felt was missing from a lot of ink types. Amethyst will still be your pure unconditional card draw, but they've come out and said that we want to continue to give card draw to the other inks, but it's going to be conditional. Draw and discard a card, look at the top four, put one into your hand, something like that. They have answered my concerns with that for the most part. I'm not going to get into a whole thing of should card draw be an ink identity, because that's something I've been playing around with my head, and I don't know if we don't have time to dive down that. But Ruby and Amber obviously got really fun tools, still got fun tools. They redid Emerald's ink identity a little bit whenever we showed the pies a little bit, because they felt that dealing damage to damaged characters was too weak. And while dealing pure damage is going to be a steal thing, they did say that they're going to give a little bit of that to Emerald. And also, Emerald getting resist on your opponent's turn is something new. If you looked at that ink pie, was something new. So after listening to the game development main stage and after getting more card reveals, I'm feeling a lot better about the set in terms of card draw, in terms of just new mechanics. In general, I think it's going to be a very high roller set. It's going to be very balancing, but also there's a lot of expensive, high end, impactful cards. My main critique now, and really not critique, but just observation, and something that I know has been talked about in the community, is that Winterspell feels a little off in terms of release schedule, which adds even more speculation to what we've seen throughout the community, is that Fabled was not part of the original timeline. If we want to go low-key here, Fabled was not part of the original timeline, and Fabled was, I'm not going to say last minute, but Fabled was just physically inserted into the timeline, because with Whispers in the Well, we got that after Halloween. And with Winterspell, we are getting this in February after the holiday season. So whether or not it's intentional, I don't know. I'm not going to put on that hat and be like, oh, Fabled was Fabled, because I think the further away we get from Fabled, the more I think Fabled really stuck out in terms of just being a little awkward. And yes, rotation is needed, but the further we get away from Fabled, the more I feel that Fabled was just an awkward set. And we could sit here and go around all day as to whether or not Fabled caused the delay of Whispers coming out after Halloween and Winterspell coming after the holidays. But to kind of wrap up this Winterspell discussion before we talk about the iconics, Dylan has initial thoughts on this. This is something we talked about in Discord a little bit. So, Dylan,
Yeah,
what's your observations here?
I can't, like you said, we can't straight up say that the Fabled was or was not initially on the books or planned or anything like that, but
We'll never know.
I think it was. Like, truthfully, I think it was. I mean, we got the introduction of the iconic cards in Fabled. You still had new releases with Dumbo and a Goofy movie. I think the Goofy movie stuff was planned right around the time that all the D23 stuff was going on with a Goofy movie and the celebration was there. Um, I think that is a highly coveted. I don't know. There was a lot going on during that time. You got to remember that Fabled and that first set rotation, and I think that they wanted to do set rotation. It was just a matter of fact of how do we do it, and having this reprint set within Fabled was the easiest way. Was it the best way? No, probably not, but it was the easiest way for them to pull off the first set rotation and get us into this cycle that they wanted to fall in. And if you remember, this was right around the time that Greg Tito and Coop both showed up. I think that they were like, gosh, this was one of the first things that they worked on was showing off Fabled and set rotations,
Yeah.
and everybody was moving around. Even Ryan Miller taking on his new position, Shane taking on his, them bringing in Naomi. Just all of this was taking place all at the same time. Not to mention some internal court type stuff with which we're not even going to go into the details of that, but all of that
You can read it
litigation type
online.
stuff was still going on. And then you got to remember that like there's still Disney behind all of this. I know that we say that we don't know how much Disney has their hand in the pot, but like talking like just the art main stage that they had the other day, hearing that Anna and Elsa's parents had a cards originally that we are not going to see because after the way, at least the way I took it, was after creating those cards and shipping them and showing them to Disney because Disney has to approve every one of the cards that we see. They were like, "Oh, well, we don't like the way that these parents or these characters are being depicted in this art. We need you to change things up. We still have them in Winterspell, but the art is going to be different than maybe the abilities or whatever. It's still going to be showcased differently than what we originally saw." And, not to mention later on when we talk about this, we're saying that, like, it holiday-wise, it didn't necessarily match up as Whispers was in November, Winterspell's in February. I think they're gonna rectify that in this upcoming year
I think
with
so
some
too.
things coming up with future sets. But I'm not gonna complain because, number 1, we asked for this. Since the very first podcast episode when we talked originally about, like, "Hey, what would you like to see in Disney Lorcana in the future?" This is one of the things that we talked about were sets themed around actual holidays and stuff like that because there's so much IP that surrounds it, and we're finally getting that, so I'm not gonna complain. And then for 2, with Winterspell in particular, I don't mind it being in February because I think that there is these emotions and feelings that the holiday scene conveys overall that you only get during the holiday season, and then once the holidays are over, it's thrown out the window. And
The
the
Christmas
fact
tree
that
still up.
right, yeah, my Christmas tree is today. Right. I haven't taken mine down yet. Mine'll be up for another 3 months, at least until winter spell's over. Heck, I might keep it up all year round, and I'm not encouraging people to keep their Christmas trees up all year round, but in spirit, keep your Christmas trees up a little bit longer and take those feelings that you would get that I think that Winterspell is doing an excellent job of conveying, and Disney Lord Kana and the community as a whole, most of the time does an excellent job conveying, that we should carry that on. And so I don't mind it. Whether it be December, January, February, let's keep it up for the next. I mean, what is that really? I mean, think about it. 3 months from now, we have until Wilds Unknown releases later on. That's all the way until springtime. We're going to carry on the holiday spirit with us.
It's a long time. But no, I think it's good observation. And it's a minor critique because again, they did a good job squashing my like, oh, like this is not turning out the way I'd hoped. But yeah, after all the main stages and seeing the balancing that they've done, they've answered most, if not all, of my like concerns. They definitely power crept. That's a fact, but it was inevitable that it was going to be power crept. Like one cost gone to that's a 3/3. Like I remember we saw that and we're like, like that was pretty wild. But no, just an observation. I had some initial thoughts, but again, they've done a good job, kind of reassuring in a sense. But last piece of Winterspell before we move into what's beyond Winterspell, whenever we get into much more warmer weather than 16 degrees Fahrenheit outside, is we have the Iconics. And I love how they had Ryan Miller read a Christmas themed tale, if you will, and just in the background was just these cards just standing upright. Let's talk about Moana first, shall we? Not because it's the lesser or anything. Let's just talk about Moana. So your iconics in Winterspell, Collectors Ahoy, Collectors Corner. I hope you're listening because this Moana, we're not even going to talk about the ability. We'll talk about that later in a future episode. But Moana being one of our two iconics, the Sapphire Moana Curious Explorer in Sapphire. We got Hey Hey. We got just this beautiful art here,
Pua.
this paper cut. Pua, not Pua. Hey Hey. We're recording this in the morning. I'm overly caffeinated, so Pua being held by Moana. If it doesn't take an awkward amount of time, I would love if there were the lore symbol effects because the lore symbol foiling is consistent with the iconics. Beautiful card, beautiful art, but uh, Moana definitely wasn't on my card or wasn't on my table for the iconics. I think a lot of folks were hoping for a dynamic duo, and I think it surprised a lot of people. Before we talk about that, let's talk about our next one. And so I'm looking at the card in the app here, trying to see the
Oh, it has
lore
it.
foiling. What is it?
It has the lore foiling still.
It has it. Okay, I was trying.
Yeah.
I one thing I never really paid attention to, but the lore foiling is definitely pronounced in this Pocahontas. So, Pocahontas was a franchise that was announced long ago. What was it? D23 last year, I believe.
No,
Uh,
maybe D23. I think it might even been before that at that
for that.
announcement with Greg whenever they were showing all the visuals
Yeah,
and
that's
stuff.
right. Yeah. So we got this Pocahontas Peacekeeper. So we do have Pocahontas cards in Winterspell, but Pocahontas getting the second iconic of the set here. One, the foiling is gorgeous. I mean, absolutely gorgeous card. Um, this allowed us to see a couple trends here. Is so far between Fabled, Whispers in the Well, and Winterspell, there has always been a amber iconic. There was the mini in Fabled. There was the Ariel in Whispers. There was this is Pocahontas in Winterspell.
Yeah, don't let all that purple confuse you there. This is not an amethyst card. This is an amber card.
It looks like an amethyst card,
It's
but that's one of
beautiful.
the trends. And the second one is that there have always been a male character and a female character iconic. You had Mickey and Minnie, you had Hades and Ariel. This is the first time that they're breaking that cadence and having two princesses here inside the iconics here. First Sapphire iconic, and then Hades was obviously our first amethyst, and Mickey was our first ruby. I think a lot of people were expecting Angel and Stitch.
Yep. Yep. You're expecting the cover athletes per se.
Does this spell trouble for Buzz and Woody iconics in Wilds?
You break your heart, Preston?
I mean, it would be disappointing, but if we think about it from like a marketing perspective, you have these package characters all over the place, all over the place, all over the place, and then they get, you know, iconics. Yeah, Fabled was kind of like that in a sense. Um,
Whispers
I think it'd
wasn't.
be sad, but I would understand why.
I think, and again, yeah, I hate to break your heart, but like it's just way too early to tell.
Yeah.
It's way too early to. Would I love to see it? Absolutely. Um, Show off Buzz and Woody, right? I mean, it's such a big deal with Pixar coming into Disney Lorcana, but like outside of Mickey and Minnie on the Fable packaging and Whispers, we got Hades and Ariel. Who would have expected those two? How
Nobody.
random was Hades and Ariel? And now we're getting Moana and Pocahontas. I think the art is absolutely beautiful in both of them. But something that came from the art main stages as well is we also know that these were not the original iconics that were planned.
Mm.
That they had other iconics planned, and after speaking to the marketing teams and Disney themselves, the original cards that were planned to be iconics were switched. We'll never know unless someone comes out from somewhere and actually tells us. We'll never know the actual cards that were the initial iconics. But these are the two that they stuck with for whatever reason.
We'll see. I think that's going to be the biggest thing for Buzz and Woody Iconics is the fact that Pixar was going to be in Wilds Unknown. That would be a sure way to capitalize on it. But again, at this point, anything's fair game. Watch it be Zurg. uh, I think
It
that's a
could be a
perfect
different
segue.
Pixar. Excuse me, but it could be a different Pixar character getting an
I
iconic.
think something just fell off your shelf there.
Oh, it did. It was probably good. I bet it was Goofy.
Was it Goofy?
It was Goofy.
It was Goofy.
It's always Goofy. He's clumsy.
Sorry, you were saying something before Goofy decided to enter the chat.
Moving on to Wilds there, talking about how like you're saying that this would be the perfect opportunity for Toy Story or Buzz and Woody to become the iconics just because it's such a big deal that
Yep.
Pixar is coming. It could easily just be another Pixar franchise that's also coming in Wilds too.
Maybe watch me The Incredibles or something. Spoiler.
Which
We'll
transition
talk about
yeah,
that.
and that transitions us right into it.
Yeah. So Wilds Unknown, looking back to Gen Con and the Preston Squeal, we'll keep this brief because we don't have a ton of stuff about Wilds Unknown so far, so consider this our what we know about Wilds Unknown. Pre-release, we officially have May 8th being your local game shop pre-release events, and also your full release is going to be May 16th. So we officially have dates for that. So we will be going between February to May inside Winterspell, and then May probably all the way up through what September, October probably with Wilds. So we do have. And sorry, my camera's been throwing fits this entire episode. So I swear I'm not trying to be a silhouette for anonymous purposes. I've been struggling with the white balance, but. May 8th, friendly local game shop pre-release. First Pixar reveals. So it has been announced that Pixar was coming to Lorcana. I definitely know that was D23 of last year. But inside that lore cast that we had with Greg Tito, Ryan Miller, everyone else, we got our first look at some Pixar cards. And I think the very first one that they revealed was Toy Story, and specifically Buzz Lightyear on the Way. We are looking at one of the very first revealed Wilds Unknown cards of Pixar, and we got Buzz Lightyear on the way. Again, we like to talk about tags. We got honey tags, we got super tags. Now we have the toy tag. And notably a captain too. So how funny would that be with like pirate decks and Captain Hook and John Silver and stuff like that?
Throw
But
Buzz in there as well.
throw Buzz, yeah. So one, I love how he's being depicted. I can't wait to see how they depict the rest of the Toy Story franchise. But just briefly, let's take a look at the card's abilities here. So 3 cost inkable, 4 strength, 2 willpower. Secret mission: whenever you pay 2 ink or less to play a non-character, draw a card, then choose and discard a card. It's quite the mechanic around. It's like it's conditional. It's like you have to play something that is 2 ink or less that's a non-character, and you get to trigger a draw and discard off Buzz. That's how I'm taking this.
So when you pay 2 ink or less, yeah, to play a non-character. So if you have an action, a song, or an item or something that is 2 ink or less, you can do this ability.
It's kind of clunky, but hey, we'll see. And then we have World's Greatest Toy. Whenever you pay 2 ink or less to play a character, you can deal 1 damage to choosing opposing damaged character. So the way this reads is you could play Buzz, he's there, but then if you pay 2 ink or less to play a character, like a 1-drop, then you could deal 1 damage to a chosen opposing damaged character. So interesting Emerald archetype, but we're not going to dig too deep into it. But any initial thoughts?
Calling it now. Aliens, little aliens, they'll either be
Yep.
2 cost or less.
Watch it be Puppies 2.0. Just all the toys or whatever. That'd be fun. That'd be fun. I think it's inevitable, but we'll see. Um, so there's buzz, but also something I was not expecting this franchise to come this soon, granted.
No.
This sucker punched us left field. We're like, what? The Incredibles are coming into Wilds and Then. So not only is Wilds and Then going to be the Toy Story coming to Pixar, Pixar coming to Lorcana, it's also going to be The Incredibles. And we have a couple Incredible cards here. We'll take a look at Mrs. Incredible first, because Amethyst is Amethyst. But Pixar coming to Wilds Unknown, or I'm sorry, The Incredibles coming to Wilds Unknown. Briefly taking a look here, 5 cost inkable, a Amethyst card, Mrs. Incredible, super stretchy, 5 strength, 6 willpower. At the start of your turn, you can choose that this character gains evasive till the start of your next turn, or this character gets +1 lore. This is very similar to a Amethyst Cameo Madrigal, where he could get plus lore or strength. Very similar effect. Yeah, I mean, immediately was like, Incredibles already? Okay, let's do it. But let's take a look at Jack Jack, because come on. Jack Jack, incredible potential. Jack Jack par, 4 ink, 4 strength, 4 willpower. Weird things are happening at the start of your turn. You may put the top card of your deck into your discard. If its card type is a character, then Jack Jack gets +2 strength. If it's an action or item, it's +2 lore. And if it's a location, you can banish chosen character. That's like doing the Macarena, stand on 1 foot, jump up and down. That's quite the mechanic to
It's another
resolve.
one of those little gambly cards that you don't know what you're gonna get whenever you top deck or whatever, move that card from the top of your deck to your discard. Unless you're
Yeah,
scrying, but seems fun.
wild. Literally wild. But they didn't stop at the Incredibles. Brave as well. So Brave is coming. I think we have a little section on merchandising, maybe, but I do know that we do have the Brave playmat somewhere, I believe. I think, what was it, Lumineer Tales? This is at the London Toy Show,
Yep.
London Toy Fair, sorry, but we do have a Brave playmat. So I think it's safe to say that we're going to have probably Brave cards. I don't think any Brave cards have been shown off yet.
Not yet.
It's just the
Um,
playmat? Okay.
we have art now. We'll talk about that
You
here in
are.
a minute too. But like this blows my mind. I know that they initially said Pixar's coming. They showed off Toy Story, your squill, all of that, but never would I have imagined that they would have bombarded us with a number of Pixar franchises that they are just slinging into the realm of Disney Lorcana back to back to back. And it's not going to stop there. I mean, it's going to continue, but it's super quick with the rollout. They could have taken their time with this, and I don't want to say squeeze Pixar for what it's worth, but each new set you could have revealed maybe one new Pixar franchise or 2 new Pixar franchises, but we're at 3 right now, on like right off the rip. It's insane to me. And then automatically just looking at this, we just talked about how like tags wise and Winterspell we're only getting aliens. You're already getting hero tags with the Incredibles, and it's all going to play around the heroes. Is there a super tag?
Yep. I'll
Okay,
miss
so you have the
Incredibles.
super tag. Mrs. Incredible, she has this, and Jack Jack. They both have the super
Yeah.
tag. Forget heroes. The supers is what I wanted to focus on because we got plenty of heroes. All princesses and princes are heroes, but the super tag, you have that along with Darkwing Duck. I'm pretty sure this set is a super, so that plays off of that. And then you have all the new toys that are going to be within Toy Story. And speaking of Darkwing, real quick, there's a Darkwing Duck card who is not a Floodborn, but has a the shift mechanic because he is a superhero. So although Mrs. Incredible and Jack Jack, neither one have the shift mechanic, if I was listening correctly to the gameplay team and stuff during their main stage, I would also go out on a limb and predict that we're going to see some more shift mechanic cards within these superheroes of Incredibles, whether it be a Elastigirl or Miss Incredible or a Mr. Incredible, because it's almost as if they are going from their normal version to donning on their super abilities or super identity and shifting into that.
Yeah, it is a respectable way to break what we've always known Floodborne to be and Shift to be. So it makes sense. That was the first thing that people stuck out and they're like, wait, there's a reason, and it makes total sense. They are assuming
Reprint
that.
Super Goof in Wilds and give him the super tag.
Yep. And there's still this tag synergy that they still don't, or we haven't had revealed yet. So maybe Wilds and None will be the one, because this goes all the way back to the reprinted Honey Wizard with Honey.
Yep.
So Dylan's looking right into the camera at you, Rochelle. Spill the beans. But anyway, continuing on down through some things that there's one thing we've already known, and yeah, it's a very fast integration of Pixar, a lot quicker. I would have been happy with one additional Pixar franchise per set going forward, but the fact that they're just all gas, no brakesing it, that's a pretty fast integration. Let's see here. We've already talked about this, but I do want to remind folks that we do have the pre-release pack starting with Wilds Unknown. This will not start in Winterspell, but the idea behind these pre-release packs is that whenever you go to a pre-release event, whether they be draft or sealed, you will pay, goodness, what's MSRP? I forget what we said it was. But you'll pay MSRP for whatever this is, and you get a kit that you will play with for the evening. So 6 packs. You get your 1 of 6 random promo cards, one of 3 random postcards, some dice, a intro, and also notably, the reason why we bring this up is because there was art that was blurred on these packs before this new round of media assets, and it is that Brave art as well.
Yeah, I think that's the important thing to point out there is why we didn't see that art because it was a new franchise that they hadn't revealed yet, which I think we talked about. But I don't think that Brave and Meredith there was any of our guesses as to what it
Mhm.
would be.
Nope, that was not on my radar.
And that kind of brings us into that next product, right? That 2-player starter set that releases on May 8th. When this was originally announced, we knew the release date. We knew that it would be $29.99 MSRP, but we didn't know at the time. We didn't have the date for Wilds Unknown, so there was no correlation that the two would actually be revealed or released on the exact same day. And this was one of the only products that we didn't have a photo of. And this makes sense as to why we don't have or didn't have a photo of it in the past. And that's because it would have been very, very spoiler heavy as it shows off
Oh yeah,
both that Buzz and that Miss Incredible that we just took a look at.
yep. And the Frozen. I don't think we have the full art of Frozen here, but Frozen is
We
on top of
don't. Yep. Frozone, Meredith, looks like a special Donald Duck on top there, and maybe a Mulan on the far left on the top. I'm not
Tiana.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Looks like
We'll
So
have to wait
Brave
and
to
see.
me.
Well, that's on the right.
Yeah, on the left,
yeah,
it almost looks like Tiana. Maybe I
we'll take
got.
that.
Could be.
So this is something I want to talk briefly on, because in Winterspell we do not have single player decks. There is no single player decks in Winterspell, but we will see them again as we see here in Wilds Unknown. However, they are packaged together in the 2-player starter set. Does this hint the end of being able to purchase an individual single player deck? If you want these starter sets and what looks like um, deck cases, and we don't know if there's foils in here, special foils, but could this hint the end of individual single player decks
Well,
being
foil
sold
wise,
individually?
real quick, I think that if you look on the actual front there of the Buzz
Oh, they are
the
foil.
Miss Incredible, I think they are foil.
Okay, I see the
Um,
lines now. Yeah.
Single player deck wise, I hate to think so. I really hate to think so. I think that single player decks are an excellent way for people to get into the game it's the easiest way to get into the game of just picking up a deck and playing with it. I know that there are tons of complaints that single player decks aren't competitive enough whenever you get them or whatever. It's not something you can just get right out of the box and play with, and maybe other TCGs do a better job at that. Maybe it's something they're revamping. I'm not sure. We do know that we now have a collection set that is going to be released, or at least has released with the past two, and potentially is going to release with future sets as well. And that's fantastic for collectors of being able to get your six packs, your binder and stuff, and start your collection to actually start playing physically to get a deck that works with the rules. I would hate to see the end of single player decks. I will say that whenever I go out and I shop, those are the only products that I still see sitting on shelves a lot of times. That just
Yep.
like even from passes, they just kind of sit there.
Yeah, and we see that at our LGS. There's still single player. There's a lot of single player decks that don't really move well. I mean, I on the other hand, I think it's helpful because like it really incentivizes that you really need somebody else to play with. Which I think if you have kids or a player too, I think it's fun to have that. Like you have everything you need for a legal game of Lorcana in this kit. But I do know that there are folks who like to buy the single player decks because they want the Powerline foil or the Special Whisper or something like that. But yeah, I hate to think that individual single player decks are no longer going to be sold individually. I think this helps preventing that like stalemate of product not moving. And it's like, I understand
The
why.
big question I think for us that we need to ask ourselves and kind of get more info is, does this actually replace Gateway and become a Gateway 2.0 like we originally hoped?
It's probably gonna be the closest thing to it. Because we see there's a quick start rules here, but also it just depends because in Gateway, there's always that deck. It's like, do not shuffle.
Right.
We don't know if that's in here.
But I mean, here's to hoping it still has locations and everything else that Gateway is missing.
And it's funny because in the Facebook groups, I've gone in there just whenever I see it, I'm like, oh yeah, I pick up Gateway, but I'm like,
But
disclaimer,
yeah,
there's a lot missing from Gateway. So
yeah, I
anyway,
had those talk at Epcot a lot.
yeah. Anyway, Wilds Unknown, pre-release May 8th. I would imagine that it's going to be a little bit before we get additional card reveals and stuff like that. We're going to really sink into the snow with Winterspell. But from Wilds Unknown, keeping up with this. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. We have one more thing briefly.
Yeah, this is kind of important to me, and something me and John's always talked about is other countries, right? How do they do
They're
their
behind.
releases and stuff? Like, well, yeah, we bought some Japanese cards and stuff just to have them, but the fact that season 2 DLCs are now open up to the entire world. How do you catch everybody up to where we're all on the same page? That way, when World Championship rolls around, all the Illuminators that are there are playing with the same cards. Wild Unknown, from what I understand, is going to be the first set that actually releases with a simultaneous release around the world of everybody will be able to go get cards at the exact same time. And it's weird. Japan, for instance, they are completely skipping over sets 9, 10, and 11. They've had opportunities to get cards from Fabled and cards from like Whispers and stuff throughout like a special rarity slot in their packs, but as a set overall, they're just skipping over them and going straight to wilds. Eh,
Without going too deep into the woods, they are doing what they call the curators collection, something like that.
Yep, and
That was exciting.
it's just that one rarity slot.
Yep.
In whenever you open a pack, you'll have a one rarity slot that is like the curator's spot or curator's collection or whatever, where you can randomly pull a card from those sets. Also, notably, they will never be able to get the iconics from Fabled.
No, not with this because that curator collection spot
Iconics in
will
it.
not have that. It won't have
It'll
iconic.
have everything up to Enchanted.
I think that's a good way to do it because it's like you get them up to speed, but then it's like you still get a drip of previous cards in there. Because again, like they're just now getting into Jafar, in February.
Sure, but,
So
like, does that not make it like, from a collector standpoint and a player standpoint, let's say that you want to actually compete and you wanna play with, I don't know, let's say Dumbo, for instance, or the new Cinderella that just came out that were, like, $40 a piece or something like that for us, right,
yeah,
at a legendary slot. Now, not only is it a legendary slot, but you're not even getting entire packs. You have one card that you can pull from Fabled or whatever, and it just seems like it would make it a harder paywall for them to get cards that they might need to actually compete.
yeah, and maybe I don't know. We could. I have thoughts, but I like how they're getting everybody up to speed finally. Just keep
I
everyone
guess they can play with the English versions or other versions or whatever, but, like,
right.
I don't know. This is also gonna be the first simultaneous release for Brazil and Portuguese cards, because to this point, they have had English cards. I think Winterspell may be the first set that they get with Portuguese as the native language, but
Yep.
Wilds will be the first one, again, from my understanding, that will be simultaneous with everybody else in their native Portuguese. And, shout out to Danny or Lorcani, who made an excellent video. It's a fantastic content creator, back and forth from, I think, New York, Brazil, and does a excellent job covering stuff. And here at the Ink Table is a big supporter as well.
They won our giveaway during the first anniversary live stream, and they finally got the promos. Thank you, international shipping. But no, that was really fun. Maybe we'll if future Preston reminder, we'll link in this other description, because that was really fun, because Denny even said it that, like, they haven't had the opportunity to get some of these promos. And yes, the whole New World keychain was a strategic decision because they had to traverse part of the world to get there. So that was fun. But yeah, Wild's Unknown. It's I think they're doing it tastefully. I know we talked about how they were talking about Jafar before Arcations was barely even a thing. So I think it's a tasteful preview of what's to look ahead. But this vine isn't going away anytime soon. These mysterious vines that we got.
For sure not. I mean, we see it in Winterspell. It's frozen at the end of Winterspell. The ice is melting. The vine is returning in spring. And in springtime, that vine just continues to grow within wilds, filled with mixed ink. And finally, in Q3, probably around the end of July, beginning of August, hint, hint, wink, wink, August,
Mhm.
we will get Attack of the Vine! Exclamation mark. I think it's important whenever we do it that they have that exclamation mark there at the end.
Even in
And
Discord, they're like "Attack of the Vine!" Exclamation! Like that's
right.
part of how you type and spell it.
So what's up, man? I mean, Pixar continuing in Attack of the Vine, this rollout, Monsters Inc. Again, notably, this will be released Q3 right around spooky season. And I think there was a couple of episodes back where I looked in the camera and I was like, please, please, next spooky season, I want Monsters Inc. And they're doing it. They're doing the thing.
It's fun, and I like how I believe there was one banner art for this where Mike Wazowski was covered up by the branding of it, or was that
Love
unofficial
it.
fan art? I
I
forget.
haven't seen that yet. I have not seen official art of that, but I'm hoping there's a card or something that plays into that and just covers his eye up.
So there's a lot going on here in this art, but there's three things in particular. One you've already pointed out was Monsters Inc., which again was not expecting them, but we were kind of hopeful.
And the next, casually in the background of this key art for Attack of the Vine, there are three things happening there. The first we'll point out is in both, well, we'll say the left for now because it's the most recognizable, and
Yeah.
that is the house from Up. That
Floating
is Mr.
casually.
Yeah, that is Carl Fredrickson's house up there from Up. So I mean, that's to say what we're getting another Pixar franchise right there in Attack of the Vine.
So two right there.
And then if you look right above Sully's head, the vine is actually like entangling a giant blimp. I'm pretty sure that's Charles Muntz's blimp from Up as well,
Hmm.
where he's got all the dogs and stuff. And then over in the far right corner, I believe that is Rapunzel's tower that we see.
There's a lot of people going, is it the Forbidden Mountain? Is it Rapunzel's castle? Like immediately a few things were firing off there.
Yeah, I mean, art wise, like if we go and we can compare that to Rapunzel's tower, that is for sure Rapunzel's tower. So that brings the question, right? Is who is the next big bad? This is something we've talked about multiple times. I have multiple running theories. Hades, we've seen he's got big plans for August. This could be right around August. He was making a deal. Who is he making a deal with? And then I noticed something with the Queen going on as well because and we don't have it on here, but if we actually go over to the website and the product stuff for Attack of the Vine, they show off some more cards that are going to be coming out in Attack of the Vine, and one of them is oh no, it's not Attack of the Vine. My bad. It's in Wilds actually. It's a queen who is absorbing some sort of power from the vines and giving it to her council of queens that she's created. I don't know, man. And this could easily be one of those things where there is a true villain, big bad, or maybe it's just man versus nature.
Because when was the last? The last villain was Jafar, and
Right.
that was how many sets ago? And I guess how many sets?
Seven, eight, eight. That was set eight.
Seven, and then Attack of the Vine will be 12,
12.
13, 12. So 7, 8, 9. So it
Cut
was
Fabled
what?
out.
It's 4 sets, every 4 sets
So it
was a villain?
was. And then, like, again, Fabled. So Fabled was 9,
That's true.
10, 11, 12.
Ballpark. Those ballpark. It's ballpark the range whenever we expect to see a new villain.
Right. But I would love to see it where we get another Illuminator's Quest during this time, right? Even if we're not taking on a villain, I think it would be cool for everybody to team up and actually take on the Vine, for instance. Maybe we don't know who the villain is behind it. Maybe it's an accident. There's just plants that have been growing, and it's just all of the mixed ink within the land from it's all Martin's fault. I mean, he started the flood.
Blake Martin. Yeah, I think to kind of cap this, because again, we're just looking at cover art. Like that's the only thing we got. Um, the Hades theory, I think, has died down a little bit in my opinion because he got Hades and Vines really don't go together, but he did make a deal with somebody or was looking to make a deal with somebody.
I have
So
thoughts on that, but I'll save them for a future piece of
future,
content.
yeah,
Um, and then the last thing for Attack of the Vine, and I know I kind of threw this in here, and I haven't really talked to you about this yet either, is new Glimmer archetype. So we had Whispers. Whispers are in this set. Whispers are in last set. Looking at patterns, and I look at patterns way too much. When they introduce a new archetype, I guess they're really around for 2 sets. Even Duel Link was only around for 2 sets. So moving out of Winter Spell, you'll go into Wilds and stuff like that. If I can, yeah. So Attack of the Vine, again, if you go to the website, it says 100% organic panic coming fall 2026. It's growing, it's invasive, reaching into the sky. The thorny vine sprouts threats of all kinds, from vinyling monsters to leafy duplicates of various glimmers. This blooming terror is scary, but why not fight scary with scary? Emphasis there on from vinyling monsters to leafy duplicates of various glimmers. Could we see these vines like take on I don't want to say whisper, but almost like glimmers that are made out of that they are those duplicates, the leafy duplicates, I guess. I don't know what you would call them, but it's just like a whole new type. And maybe that would go into a Illuminator's Quest in general
maybe.
with the cards that you're playing against instead of like being taken over by Ursula or anything like or hypnotized by Jafar, you're actually competing against the leafy duplicates that the vine has created of glimmers.
To be determined.
We'll see. Then lastly, rolling right out of that And then maybe this goes right back into Hades, is we have our very first look at Q4 set. Unnamed, well, I don't want to say unannounced. It's unnamed. This I can find the photo. I know it's got Coco in it, which just continues our carousel here of throwing Pixar characters into the realm of Disney Lorcana. I don't see the art here. I don't think there's much for it. It just says
No.
Q4. Q4 shows off Coco. I do see it. Coming, and what is his uncle? Is it Uncle Ernesto? Ernesto de la Cruz? Or is that the villain?
Ernesto is the villain. Hold on. Coco.
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Rewatch Coco.
Tio. Uncle Tio.
Okay. But it shows off both of them inside the Great Illuminary, notably.
Yep.
You can tell by that pillar in the back. I absolutely love this art. And if, again, unannounced date, but if this plays out Q4, let's say it comes out around November, that will come out right around Day of the Dead, or around that time. So it could play into there, and you could play more into that idea of Hades, of you got Day of the Dead, you have Coco, you could have Hades pulling off whatever it is he's doing, playing with the dead, and potentially see Dr. Facilier return, his friends on the other side. Love to see that reprinted there.
Maybe it will be something. I'm trying to decipher. It looks like it's just a crowd surrounding that stage. So again, nothing too crazy to jump off of, other than that's what's ultimately coming. This will be the last set of the year too, notably. So, and then rotation will happen with this
that set. That'll be when rotation starts.
Yeah. It's hard to believe that we have one more year playing with these cards and then we're faced with another rotation.
And that's a reminder to everybody. That will be sets 5 through 7. 5 through 8. 5, 6, 7, 4.
Yes.
Yep. Sets 5 through 8 that will be rotated out in Core Constructed.
Because it'll be Fabled, Whispers, Winterspell Wilds.
Will be the remaining?
I think. I don't. We don't have the graph pulled up. That's just set rotation's coming. It's coming up again.
Be prepared.
Oh, Baker has entered the chat. Real quick here, folks. I know that again, thank you for, if you've listened this far. Thank you. Maybe you're using the chapters because again, with travel and everything and events, we knew this was going to be a long one and at the end of the month. But real quick, just briefly before we talk about our wrap up, is upcoming events. There's quite a few things going on. We got Festival of the Arts still ongoing now through the end of Festival of the Arts for Lorcana. That's what, February, March, I believe, is whenever that ends. I can't
believe
recall.
so.
So you got that going on at Epcot, but looking ahead, we do have, I believe, DLC. Oh goodness gracious, Ghent. I think Standby. I don't forget which one is upcoming because we just had Richmond. Let's look at Europe.
I think there's some Asian markets are having ones like tomorrow.
Yeah. Singapore,
Hong Kong.
Australia, and then Ghent is upcoming. Ghent is March 6th through the 8th. And then DLC Indy, which is DLC 3. So we got a lot of time between now and DLC Indy. 140 days was between Richmond and Indy. We only had 70 from Milwaukee to Richmond. So a lot of DLC events going on too. But also we got the CCQs that are popping up all over the place. But notably, one thing we wanted to kind of talk about briefly is Gen Con is coming up. It's about halfway through the year in June, July, something like that, into August. And there's a CCQ announced at Gen Con, which has the potential to be the most DLC non-DLC, if that makes sense. We'll see what happens, because generally CCQs have not been very incentivized for travel. Like if you're a really competitive player and want to do it, by all means go for it. But it's attracted a lot of locals to the area, hosted by various game shops. So I'm going to be really curious to see how this one pans out, because Uh, this is meeting people where they're already going to be traveling to. So a lot of people travel to Gen Con. A lot of people travel to Gen Con for Lorcana. There's going to be a CCQ there. So I'm going to be very curious to see how that
Yeah, all
shapes
eyes
up.
are on this right now. Like you
Yeah.
said, this has the potential to be the most DLC CCQ out of all of them. Notably, you do not get side events at CCQs for the most part.
No.
There are some
Up
cool
to the store.
people out there. Yeah, there's some cool people out there that are making it work, making it happen. But if this is anything like Gen Con last year, tons of side events, tons of creators, tons of people, the community is there. Um, it'll all be there along
Yep.
with your normal CCQ that you can compete in.
And
And
remember,
important
you
to
have to buy a ticket to
you
Gen
have to have
Con
access
to
to Gen
be
Con.
in the CCQ to even get
Yeah.
that CCQ. So
It's like how Epcot was with the collection quest. You had to get into Epcot in order to participate in the collection quest. But also notably too is that CCQs are not DLCs. They're different pricing structure. The main thing for a CCQ is to get into Continentals. So we'll leave that there. But yeah, there a lot of people are looking at the CCQ. There's a lot of potential behind this. But that's just some events coming up. But to formally wrap things up, I think we did. I think we did this last year too. In
Yep.
January of last year, what would we like to see in or from Lorcana in 2026? And we each have a few bullet points. But Dylan, kick us off as we enter the game, as we approach the game's third year into 2026. What would we like to see?
Card reveal.
Yeah,
Let's be real. There's
yeah,
4 sets a year. I know it's harder to get card reveals nowadays because they're spreading them out across the entire globe around content creators. But man, I mean, we've been doing this for over a year now. We're not stopping anytime soon. I'd love to make it happen.
yeah. Would love to see that. Marketing willing.
Besides that, continued clear and concise communication, especially as quarter 4 rolls around and we get into that next set rotation. I think it's the biggest time of the year for them to communicate thoroughly to everybody, so there is no confusion. They're already doing a great job of that. Excuse me. Ah, they did announce somewhere, I believe it was a comment, even if it was on like one of the lorecasts or whatever, that whenever set rotation does take place, it will not be a reprint set.
Yeah,
It's very important. Um, Outside of that, they just need to they do such an excellent job. Greg, all of them having the Lorecast weekly or whatever. Even if there's not a lot of news, I think it's still important for them to continue to do it. The main stages have been amazing. The breakdown of not putting a bunch of information together all at once, unlike what this podcast does, breaking it down of like, here's the art, here's the narrative and lore, and here is the gameplay side of things. Here's something for everybody. And like seeing like the color pies and stuff like that, where they're breaking it down thoroughly and actually giving us information. This is stuff I would have loved to seen in the past whenever they were talking about the bans of like Florida Sphere and stuff. But they just need to continue doing this throughout the entire year.
I'm gonna let Dylan drink some water real quick. John,
Thank
what
you.
do you think?
yeah, cough, get some water, something.
We've been going long. We've ran out of
Yeah.
liquids.
Honestly, I don't know. I really haven't thought a lot about it. I don't know. I don't know what I want to see out of Lorcana this year. Truth be told. I mean, I would like to see, they're always pushing going to your locals, supporting your local game stores, go to league, do all this and that. They've kind of, over the past year, they kind of took away a lot of your incentive to go. As far as prizing and things like that, and I've said it here before. The only reason I go now is because of the camaraderie with everybody, the friends that I've made. Yeah, of you guys.
That's the main reason.
Because the main reason why I went to begin with was I wanted those pins, and then once the pins
And now
are
you have a
gone,
podcast.
yeah. Well, now I have, yeah. Congratulations, I have another podcast. But I mean, but you want people to come out to league, and you want that to grow. you need to do something to get people out. I mean, promos are great. There's only 3 of them, and it's a 3-month rotation. So you know, you end up getting 1,000 of the same promos. The stickers are cool, but the LGSs, I don't think, want to mess with the stickers. They just kind of stack them up at the cash register and say, "Here, if you want one, take it." You know, I mean,
whole stack. Right there.
Yeah.
And John, not to open up another can of worms, but you know, again, while we have all been traveling, there's been a lot of stuff transpire, and Johnny brings up an interesting point because we've seen a lot of chatter of some markets, geographic markets, and local game shops starting to spin down Lorcana a little bit or scale down their Lorcana offerings at their local game shops. And you know, I think immediately there's a lot of people who jump to that and go, oh my god, the game's dying, da 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 da. It's not. I think it's just what works in some markets don't work in others. And I think it's bound to see. There's card shops where One Piece might be the most popular game as to where, I don't know, Cookie Run might be huge in that market. So I do echo John though. Like I think we need, again, production, economics, what have you, more incentive for local. I think would be a good way to put it.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, and if that means, I don't know, doing something, you know, like Pokemon does. I think at some point, if the game lasts as long as Pokemon does, we'll get to a point where they do qualifiers for this. You know, you get so many points, and then, you know, you'll have a regional thing, and then you'll have a continental thing and stuff like that. You know, that gives a lot of incentive to.
I want to see that.
Yeah.
But again, Disney Lorcana is not other TCGs.
Right.
I think that even at our local community, we do such a wonderful job building and fostering a great community. I think that there are different types of players, and Lorcana is a great starter game and a way for people to just have fun playing a TCG. I've been the first one to advocate that structure of what Pokemon does, and I think it still needs to happen, but you have to have a divide. If you do it, you still have to have a divide somehow along the way to where you're working with your LGS to provide 2 things. You have your weekly play, where it's the fun community aspects of people just showing up and playing, and then you turn around and have your points-based system of like, all right, cool, now I can earn points to qualify to play in the regionals and stuff like that. Personally, I think that's the wrong way to do it. I think you just have weekly play.
Yeah.
I don't know what your incentive would be. But then I think set championships. Yeah, you have rewards for sets, but I think that if you top certain set championships, that you should be able to qualify a smaller regional qualifier. Not a DLC, but a smaller regional qualifier. And then that smaller regional qualifier would move you on to DLC and then the big continentals and then worlds or something like that.
And that kind of ties into some new wording that we've heard too. Is I think for the first time, at least at Richmond, we heard the word premiere thrown out, and Lorcana gameplay falls in 3 buckets. You have casual, you have competitive, and you have premiere. Premiere being your DLCs, CCQs, competitive being your store championships, and casual being your weekly play. Again, they have a progression of promos. Could there be a progression between all 3?
Who knows?
I mean, it sounds like the story they're trying to write.
Yeah,
maybe.
And I think a lot of this just all falls back to they didn't expect. You know, they were only planned out for a year at first, and things have just snowballed quickly.
We root for them. We root for them because, again, I go back to this. The game shouldn't exist right now.
Right. Should have ended 3 sets ago.
It should have ended 3 sets ago. My simple ask is, again, there's a lot of things I would ask, but one thing I think is, I don't want to say confusing people, but I think it kind of ties into a conversation that John and I had in Discord months ago was, I would like to see more consistent Lorcana presence at Disney destinations, whether it be the parks, the cruises. I'm not going to go into what formats, but I think something that John and I talked about, and I think it was in our team chat privately on Discord, was at the end of the day, this is a third-party licensed product.
Right.
And I think me saying, yes, I would like to see more consistency of cruise promos, and we have publication promos and puzzles promos and magical places, and Lorcana is not always available in the parks 24/7. They have to find it at a special event. At the end of the day, it's a officially licensed third party product, and is that even a desire from both companies?
Yeah, and that's the thing, and we talked about that before. Is it just Disney? here's our license. There you go. Sign it out on paper and do what you will.
We see that they have their hands in it, though. They have to approve all the art. They can shut down anything that they're deciding to do, and even Disney can play a role in choosing what cards get an iconic or not.
Right.
And I would like to know how things went with other Disney stuff. Do you remember, what was it called? Disney Multiverse or something like that a few years ago? It was like some kind of...
Mirrorverse?
Mirrorverse, yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, they had toys and everything about that, and then it just kind of went poof, it just disappeared. I would be real interested to see how things, other things like that have progressed. With the Disney IP, how if they just all of a sudden just go, you know what, we're done, and just pull the plug.
It's not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
You're not making enough money for us, so why?
Yeah.
How much more money do you need? You got ABC, ESPN, college football. What more money do you need besides Disney money?
I think a good cap on it is I think we are entering the long game.
Yeah, absolutely.
We said that back in Inklings once we got past the initial contract, but I think we are meeting. We've I don't want to say we've peaked, but we've kind of hit that, like, we have stabilized in terms. I think that's a word they even used in that press release, was they have stabilized at a high demand. But now I feel like the decisions being made over the next year to 2 years is going to be probably more important than growing the game.
Well, I think your comment about at Disney destinations. If I could talk, thank you. Yeah, I know, right? It's cold down here. I think that's a big thing because handing out the cards on the boat. My wife made a post in the Facebook group that we'd done it, and somebody had actually replied back, "Oh, I've really wanted to play this game, and I really wanted to get my husband to play it too. Thank you for leaving these cards because of this. If they just had somebody set up on the boat or at the park in a little area where people could just come and just play it and see how it went, and just have starter decks for people just to choose from, and you just sit there and play. They don't even have to keep the starter decks, just have it for them to play and teach them how to play it. I think that would bring so many more people into
what starter decks? Those single player decks that we're not getting?
Yeah, those single player decks that we're not getting. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to Epcot. Is like we didn't have that educational step in that. So yeah, because I've seen it inside the cruise I'm getting ready to go on. People are like, "Hey, is Lorcana on the cruise like we saw in the treasure?" It's like, well, they disappeared on the treasure, and there's never been no acknowledgement of that other than it is a test.
They could even sell something in the gift shops. People like to play games and stuff on vacations. I mean, just sell something in there that kids could pick up and learn to play. But
important decisions to be made. So we'll see. We'll see what the year holds.
I don't work in that, so I don't know. Yeah.
Take my money.
Yeah.
No. What a fun episode. This was fun. And folks, I know that we're coming at y'all very late in the month. I think it's just a circumstance of the holidays and travel and going and attending events. So this was a lot of fun. This year has been very weird in terms of like, you just transition so hard into the holidays and it's like that immediate, you fall down for the holidays, you're right back to your routines. But this is the one thing I feel like has been missing in my year so far. And I'm glad that we could, truly, we've talked about what we've experienced, but truly what this episode right here is why this began. Like, I heard some of Dylan's thoughts for the very first times. We talk almost message daily, but like, we have work and lives and wives and other things that we have to take care of here. But it's going to be a fun year. Make no mistake about it. But folks, in general, I think this is something that I threw in here, and I think we have been trying to convey a message. And at the end of the day, we want this show and Lorcana to be an escape from whatever stressors and everything else you have going on in life. And I think 2026 has been a interesting year and a tough year for a lot of people so far. I think that being said, I think the main message we want to convey is just watch after yourselves, take care of yourselves first and foremost, and take breaks if you need to. Take a break from Lorcana, disconnect if you have to, so that way you can come back with the energy to be present and enjoy the people and activities that matter most to you. And I think that's what we want to kick off this year with. Not only being excited for all the cards, but also taking care of each other too, because we've been playing this game for 3 years now. So it's quite crazy. But anyway, folks, if you've made it this far, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. This very cold episode. It's not cold anymore because we ditched the jackets. Dylan wore the Darkwing Duck cloak the entire time. No, it's not Darkwing Duck.
Especially, man, it's comfy. It's cozy.
Especially considering that it's 16 degrees Fahrenheit outside.
Right.
But folks, if you want to connect with us for any reason, business inquiries, questions, or thoughts, podcast at theinktable.com. You can hit us up and we all get your emails. Leave us a voicemail, voiceline.app/theinktable. You can easily find and follow all of our socials by checking out our link tree, which is linked everywhere. The Inktable for even more Lorcana content. Dylan's write-ups of the podcast episodes in text form. You can also follow us on different socials as well, at Preston McNair on YouTube and at Storyborn Dylan for Lorcana content. And also the Discord plug, which I have not seen until today, but I'm going to do my best Greg and Rochelle impression. Not discord.gg, but tinyurl.com/the Inktable Discord. And I love that. I love that there's, I don't know who made this. Who made this?
I did.
No, Dylan did. I love it. So we now have our own little
somebody on the Robbinsburg team made it, and that's, to be honest, that's just theirs. I just stole theirs and put our link.
So the Discord has been fun, and the Discord has really, again, folks, I know that we publish a lot of short form, but really the Discord is active daily at this point. So great time to talk story, talk lore, talk collections, talk card reveals, hang out with everybody
from all over the world coming together.
Truly.
Canada, Ireland, Brazil, us. I mean, everybody.
Merch link down below, the Inktable-shop.fourthwall.com for all that. Do we still have the winter collection up? I do believe so.
It's on there. We don't necessarily have like the special discount or running right now, but I don't know. Maybe we can do like a special Winterspell discount that launches on the merch shop alongside the Winterspell's release.
Yeah. And as always, if you are listening to this podcast, no matter what platform you're on, please consider liking, subscribing, leaving us a review on whatever platform of choice. Definitely helps us reach even more Lumineers to grab more seats. So helps more than you'll ever know. But folks, from the Inktable, thanks for pulling up a seat. Thanks for staying warm with us because it is cold on the East Coast. We're actually getting together here in just a little bit to go to our weekly play, one of our last weekly plays before Winterspell. So, and before I start traveling again. So, but folks, as always, there will be a seat for you at the Inktable. See you all next month.
Bye, guys.
This podcast is part of the Gamers Lounge Radio Network. Get more gaming news and shows at www.the-gamers-lounge.com.